Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to Reality Realness with 3 S's. I'm your host here, Chantele Francis, here with my lovely co-host, Tanya. How are you doing today, Tanya?
Hello. The late to the party, but still here edition of the episode this week.
Well, do you know what, though? It seems perfect that we're all late to the party because usually we go live maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. And so it's just usually about the episode and then all this stuff happens. And then we have to talk about it the following week when it's kind of like old news. So we're still in the midst of the tornado of what's going on this week in the Bachelor Nation and in real life. And so I'm perfectly happy with recapping the episode as well as touching on the pretty interesting points that and events that have happened this week. So it's perfect timing in my opinion. And if
you're
on Reality Realness, well then welcome. Please make sure you subscribe right down below. We're on our journey to 1,000 subscribers and we can't do it without you guys. So where did this week begin? We began with a statement from Matt. I think in the timeline that was first. Am I correct here?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so let's take a read through of that so we can discuss that point. First up, he posted this on Instagram. I don't know if he posted it anywhere else. So let's see if you can see that. Yes, you can. I'm going to blow it up a little bit if I can. Okay, so Matt's statement is, the past few weeks have been some of the most challenging of my life. And while there are several episodes left of the season, it is important that I take the time to address the troubling information that has come to light since we wrapped filming, including the incredibly disappointing photos of Rachael Kirkconnell and the interview between Rachel Lindsay and Chris Harrison. The reality is that I'm learning about these situations in real time, and it has been devastating and heartbreaking, to put it bluntly. Chris's failure to receive and understand the emotional labor that my friend Rachel Lindsay was taking on by graciously and patiently explaining the racist history of the antebellum South, a painful history that every American should understand intimately, was troubling and painful to watch. As Black people and allies immediately knew and understood, it was a clear reflection of a much larger issue that the Bachelor franchise has fallen short on addressing adequately for years. This moment has sparked critical conversations and reporting, raising important questions, and resulted in inspiring displays of solidarity from the Bachelor Nation. It has also pushed me to reevaluate and process what my experience on The Bachelor represents, not just for me, but for all the contestants of color, especially the Black contestants of this season and seasons past, and for you, the viewers at home. I will continue to process this experience, and you will hear from me in the end, more from me in the end. My greatest prayer is that this is a reflection, inflection point that results in real and institutional change for the better. Okay, so what do you think about that? Like, what are your first instincts about that statement?
I mean, I do feel for Matt in the sense that I don't think that he's really able to speak about anything from his heart without it being vetted or put through some kind of, professional like PR / like diversity. Like it's very well written as a statement, but I just feel like this guy can't really like share everything yet based on his contract. And I'm curious to hear, like, once it all plays out, what more he'll have to say. I think what stands out to me in this statement, though, specifically that when I read it, I was like, okay, is it seems like the way that it's written, Chris is being most condemned, I guess, for his actions, which lead me to believe that he may actually lose his job, which is not how I felt when we did the last episode. We were thinking it probably still wouldn't happen no matter what. So it was interesting that that was chosen and highlighted, I feel, most intensely of everything that was explained in there. The way he mentions Rachael Kirkconnell as well leads me to believe that perhaps if they are together, that relationship has also potentially ended. I don't really know, but I'm definitely interested to see what's going to play out over the next few episodes, but also like afterwards, when Matt is maybe more able to speak about everything, what he'll choose to say.
I guess for me, like it's well written, as you've mentioned. He hits some decent points, recognizing that he's learning about these situations in real time, just like we are.
Mm-hmm.
I guess since my issue with it is the fact that I don't know if he's always been a champion for Black rights and Black history. And like, I don't know if that's where he's always kind of stood. And so I guess it doesn't feel like he's going to do anything about it. It doesn't feel like he's impassioned about making change. It just seems very just like glazed over with saying the right thing, but there's no, like, I don't feel like he is hurt by the statements that was made by Rachael, or like the actions of Rachael Kirkconnell. I don't feel as though he feels how I feel when I was watching the Chris Harrison thing. Like, I don't know if I get that passion from him. And it could be because, he is still the Bachelor. The season, as he mentioned, is still going on. He most likely chose Rachael Kirkconnell as his partner, and he may or may not be still together with her after these this stuff has come out. But it just seems scrubbed. It doesn't seem like there's like any heart behind what he's saying. It doesn't seem like it's affected him in a way that's made him impassioned. And so that makes me feel as though it's false, or that it's not fully where he's coming from and where he stands. And like, it hasn't stirred up anything in him to say anything that really, it just doesn't hit my heart. It doesn't hit my heart.
I mean, and to your point, he's had opportunity. I see what you're saying, and I get that. Like, I think that it's aligned to his past actions as well. Rachel Lindsay talked about like when everything happened with Hannah Brown in the past, when she used the N-word, and then all the fallout that happened in Bachelor Nation, and then she took some time away and whatever. We'll talk about this more because I think it's like relevant to a lot of things that are happening right now. People were condemning Rachel for calling out Hannah blatantly for her actions when Matt threw up a Bible verse and just like kept it moving by Rachel's words. So it's just like, in the past, people liked that he didn't say anything about it and wasn't outwardly spoken, and that was how that was received. And Rachel Lindsay looked like the person who was the bad guy in that situation for calling it out, when that's simply not true. So for him to be like speaking out about it now, when in the past, like, he's had opportunities to do the same and hasn't, to your point, makes it feel very like, prepared and, prepped perfectly. Like, I'm sure ABC vetted the comment. Like, he's the lead of the show. There's no way he can just actually say freely whatever he feels. Like, there's no way. Or he could, but it would be like a breach of his contract or whatever.
Hi, B Bean. So Bean says Chantel's 100% correct about Matt when Hannah B said the N-word, and Matt was post a prayer as opposed to what Mike Johnson said publicly. Exactly.
Right.
And so, this Cassandra here saying exactly what I was trying to get at. Matt is 30, and it seems like he's just discovering that racism exists. Exactly, because I don't think that he's lived fully a life in the skin that's experienced some of these prejudices and racial biases and whatnot. Like, it doesn't seem like he's lived in that world where he's been profiled, or maybe he has and he's blocked it out, or, been any of the experiences that people of color have experienced in their lifetime. He hasn't had those experiences, or, it hasn't affected him, or he's blocked them out. I agree, Cassandra. It seems as though he's not enraged in a way that is going to be someone that makes change. Like how Rachael is impassioned with wanting to make change. And so it's a little bit frustrating to hear him say all the right things when I don't think, not that he doesn't care, but I just don't think that it moves him in a way that inspires me to be like championing for him to be like my voice here. He's the Black Bachelor. He's going to get justice. Like, it just doesn't, I don't feel it. He can choose who he wants. I'm not even saying that. Like, if he wants to be a woman of whatever background, totally fine. But when these topics of racism come up and he's supposed to be the voice of the first Black Bachelor, I just don't, his voice isn't heard because it doesn't seem like he has an opinion. It doesn't seem like he has like a say. It doesn't seem like it's his words or his heart.
Right.
The other thing that I want to look at too that happened earlier this week is another statement from Rachael. So this is Kirkconnell we're talking about here. So she went to her Instagram and she made another, well, this time it's video. So I think that video is a good good way to go here because you can actually see her as opposed to it just being like, you know, a written statement. So I like this, but let's see how she goes. It's kind of long, guys, 7 minutes. If you get bored, Tanya, tell me.
Oh, it's okay. I'm making notes.
On here and say a few things. You will hear more from me about everything, hopefully sooner than later. But I really just wanted to say that, over the last few weeks, since I've put my statement out, I've gotten a lot of messages. I've gotten a lot of people asking me, well, what have you done to change since then? And I've also had a lot of people message me saying that they aren't understanding why people are so upset. But they want to, and they've asked for resources, which I think is great. But then there's also people messaging me saying, you've done nothing wrong, don't listen to people. And I'm tired of getting all of this and not saying anything. And I think that the first big step in all of this is white people stepping up and taking accountability. And things will never change if we don't all work together and working towards this racial progress and this unity that we want. And I've just been hesitant to post links and books and any resources because I don't want people thinking that it's performative or it's not something that I don't truly stand by. And I get it. I hear you. There are things out there that completely validate your opinions and your anger towards me. But I've come to realize that sitting aside and hiding in the corner and avoid being called performative, that doesn't help anyone or anything. And even if that is what people think when I speak on these subjects of injustice and racism, that's not what really matters. This entire movement and where we are in this country, it's just so much bigger than this. And I want and need to use my privilege and my platform that I so do not deserve, just to shine a light on these issues and try and do what I can to take a step in the right direction. And I keep trying to tell myself that this entire experience, what's going on right now, was a blessing in disguise because, maybe it can wake a lot of people up, and maybe it already has started to. And I think one of the most crucial parts to all of this is to talk to each other and to have these conversations. to have these uncomfortable conversations and to learn to unlearn and to do the work. We have so much work to do. So with all of that being said, I am going to post some resources that I have either used or that have been highly recommended to me that I plan on using, because the learning never stops. We all need to continue to educate ourselves. And I think that it's just where everyone needs to start with all of this. One more thing. If you are in my comments or defending me anywhere, telling people that I did nothing wrong, that there's nothing to be hurt about, there's nothing to be angry about or offended about, please stop. That's not our place to tell people what they can and can't be offended about. That's wrong. And that's part of the problem. So please stop saying that I did nothing wrong. That's not true. If you really want to support me, then encourage me to do better and encourage those around you to do better and to accept change and allow others to learn and grow. Because we need to work together on this if anything is going to change. And if you yourself, you're not understanding this, then go on this journey with me. Just open your heart to learning and to educating yourself on this. I think that I try and understand where the division comes from with this and why it's a controversial issue. And I think so many people think that it's solely a political problem. And it's not. At the end of the day, it's a humanitarian issue. It's how we treat others around us, and it's us learning what we can do to see these unconscious biases and this embedded racism that this country has, and learning how we can help the people of color around us. Our Black family, our Black friends, neighbors, teammates, coworkers, everyone. And again, thank you for holding me accountable. I'm so sorry. I know that doesn't change anything, but like I said in my statement, I just hope I can earn your forgiveness and your grace through my future actions. And I'm done waiting around for the time to speak, and I'm done hiding from all of this. And like I said, I'm going to post some resources on the next few slides, and I'm going to put a link in my bio. And if you're still here listening, thank you. And yeah, you will hear more from me in the future. Hi.
All right. So first thoughts.
I just want to.
That was the first time you heard it, right?
That's the first time I watched the start of it, maybe the first 4 minutes when it came out, and then I had to stop because I was getting irritated. But okay, so here's my thing about this. If you read the comments on the post, and everyone will notice there's over 1.2 million views on this video, there is an overwhelming amount of comments that are in support of her and saying, oh, so great for you, girl. Congratulations, takes courage. I always liked you the best on this season, blah, blah, blah. Endless comments of praise and support. We need to stop coddling people who have done something wrong and are currently going through the process of learning why their actions are wrong and moving forward from that. She can say everything that she wants to say right now, And it's okay for people to be critical of it, because the facts are the facts of everything that we've seen. It's racist. She's now facing, some blowback from that, rightfully so. And it should be a painful experience. And like, we need to stop coddling people for posting things like this and making them like out to be some person that we need to forgive immediately, when it just takes time. It will take actions, and it will take a lot of work for people to feel like she's actually working towards being anti-racist and working towards being an ally. Like, that's just a fact. It's like, look at the Hannah thing as an example of this as well, where it's like she showed the work that she was doing for a short period of time after taking a break from social media, and since then has had many opportunities to show that she's actively anti-racist and has learned and is, actually a champion of these things and an ally. And it doesn't happen. It doesn't mean that the work's not happening, but the point is people can be pressed about her posting this, and we don't need to immediately jump on and forgive this girl and be like, oh my God, it's fine. Ugh, I can't believe she's going through all of this. I just find that to be so frustrating and like so detrimental to the larger conversation.
For sure. I totally agree with you. And like, I do feel as though she was coached for a while on hitting the points that were going to be, to a certain degree, effective. But I feel it was all quite staged. So the fact that she's sitting on the floor to look relatable and not look like she's in a power position, I think that was intentional. The calm and softness in her voice is for us to maybe feel as though she's, somebody that can't handle any criticism, and that, you want to take care of them and don't want to hurt them, which it's of course you do not want people to be coming for you in this fashion. And so anything that you could do to make soften this blow, I get her approach. Like, I get why she's doing stuff. But for me, she didn't want to come off performative. It slightly seems to be performative in how she is wanting us to perceive her, is that she's contrived it in a way that we feel guilty with holding her to and for being accountable for her actions. It's like, oh, she's so sweet. I don't know. She feels bad. Okay, I feel bad. Okay, it's done. I'm not going to reprimand her anymore for her past actions. Like, I feel bad. So I do feel a little bit manipulated as a person that is affected by what she's done in the past. And I don't know if she's actually doing the work. Yes, she posted resources, which I think is great. Yes, I like the fact that she called out people in her comments saying, like, I did do something wrong, so stop saying that I didn't, because that's not helpful. I think that that's really good to hear coming from somebody in her privilege world, that, hey, people like me, like, that's not helpful. So let's look at what we can do to change this narrative. And then the other thing that bothered me about this was the fact there were so many cuts. I would have been more compelled to believe she was doing the work if it wasn't an edited version of whatever she actually said. I want to see the rough cut. I want to see what cut was cut out of there. How long was it? Like, did she say something that was offside? Like, who went through and edited it in order for it to come across in whatever way they wanted us to perceive it as, and how and what was taken out that may not be following that narrative. So I appreciate the sentiment of the statement, but I do feel as though it was very contrived, and it was like very particular with what was presented and the fashion that it was presented. And also in some of her posts, like I saw somebody showed that, she had like an ally book kind of in her, drinking a drink, and she has her
feet, it was in the background.
In the background. It's like, it's a little bit like, hey guys, I'm doing the work, and but there's a part of it that's a little bit performative still.
And you can't judge performativity like off of like, she'd be like, I don't want to come across as performative. Okay, but like, you will come across as performative until there's more like
evidence the other way.
That you've shown that you have not been doing it performatively. And guess what? That's going to take more than a week where you feel shitty on social, or a month, or through the rest of this Bachelor season. It may take years and years and years for you to even get to a place where you're actively an ally, but you have to like show that. So yeah, everyone's going to think it's performative, and it's okay for them to think it's performative, because a lot of people are doing these things performatively. So the criticism is completely valid, and that's just part of it, you know? Like, I'm sorry. It's ridiculous. Like, I just don't, yeah, there's too much praise heaped on her, and it was driving me crazy, because it's just like, you said, to your point, like, it's almost like she's trying to make people feel bad that there's consequences for her actions, when you could really take this experience, if you're really interested in listening and learning, and become someone who is a strong ally, you know?
Exactly. And she is doing the work, so I'm not saying, or she's showing us that she's doing some work, so I'm not saying this was a bad statement or she shouldn't have done this. I'm not saying that at all, but I'm just don't know. It's not enough yet. So she's going to have to keep on doing things like this, because right now it's still, as you kind of stated, is in the performative zone. It's like, hey, I got to show people that I'm doing the work, and I got to also make you guys not to stop like making me be accountable. Like, I just want to hide and go away. I mean, there's no real spoilers left in this world, I don't think, about this. So I don't even care if I know the truth or whatnot about what happens in the end, because that's not how the story is going. So I just don't think you care either. So Natalie says, Reality Steve said Matt and Rachel have broken up, and that is something that we could pretty much see coming. I didn't really feel personally that she was that into him. I told you on like that the date where she had the shopping date, there's kind of moments where she was moving away from him and didn't really feel like she could be in his presence, close presence, and kind of being startled by his energy. And it's like, well, you know, you're around him. Like, why are you like flinching when someone you're supposed to be following
is just touching you? Yeah.
So I didn't feel as though it was going to work out in the end. I did feel he was always going to pick her. But I guess I also feel that this was it was easy for her to get out now of this relationship, you know? It's like, oh, well, I never really liked you anyways, so I'm going to get to the end. I'm going to get all the publicity for the show. It's going to be a lot of negative publicity from what happened in her past, which she wasn't expecting, I'm sure. But I feel like she's like, phew, I don't have to get married to this guy now.
I know.
Kind of.
Well, and also, like, here's the way where I do feel for Matt, in the sense that, like, I imagine it can't have been easy to have picked her. And I don't know to what extent he might have known about the behavior prior to the photos that surfaced recently, like the likes and everything, and, you know, the TikTok stuff about her in high school and whatnot. I don't know to what extent he might have known that prior to filming, but, like, for sure the photos and everything he found out as we found out. And I can't imagine that that's a nice experience to navigate, especially like you said, if he's going to pick who he's going to pick, whatever, like, that's what's happening at this point. But, like, it must suck to navigate that. I don't know. Like, I'm sure he has a lot more that he's going through in regards to that, which when everything happens, you kind of have to look at it and be like, how could I possibly be with this person? You know?
Like, Sandra, I mean, we don't know if it's 100% true.
We're assuming.
Has been pretty wrong. I was assuming when Matt made that statement that it didn't seem like he was with Rachel in his statement, unless he was trying to make it seem as vague as possible. I can't tell what's true right now about what happens after. Like, I don't know if all the rumors are still the same, including Katie being the new Bachelorette. I don't know if they're still going to go that angle in lieu of what's been going on. So right now, like, I hope that, sorry, I didn't mean to spoil it if you really are anti, knowing that it's a potential that he picks Rachel and they're probably not together. But I feel like we can also assume that that was what was going on. Like, that was where I agree with you. I just didn't feel as though their relationship would be able to overcome this. it was too new of a relationship, and I don't know if she would have been able to say the right things to fight harder, because I didn't think she was that into him. So
exactly.
Okay, so what else is going on? So Chris Harrison apparently needs to have all this grace, kind of like how Rachael Kirkconnell needs to have all this grace, and people like making them feel better about how they treated Black people, and the respect that there was a whole culture of people. I definitely didn't agree with anything, and it made my blood boil when I watched his interview with Rachel Lindsay. And Rachel Lindsay, as you've even pointed out so far today, has been the face of like any sort of diversity / Black issue that happened within the franchise. So, Hannah says the N-word live. It's her that has to kind of make the statements. And I think Hannah Brown even asked Rachel, how does she deal with this? And where Rachel was kind of upset was that Hannah didn't follow through with the suggestions that Rachel had as to how to deal with, the backlash that Hannah Brown was getting when she said the N-word. But any sort of situations with her being, because she was the Black Bachelorette, the first one, she is the first person that people turn to ask like her opinion, or she has to give a statement, or she has to discuss it on her podcast, or she's on extra having a conversation with Chris Harrison. So we wanted her to be the Black Bachelorette, and I thought she was an excellent Bachelorette in general. I don't think the show gave her the season that she deserved. I think that there's the manipulation in there that she didn't end up getting the full love story that she deserved, and she kind of got a lot of heat for who she chose. They didn't feel as though she should have chose him. They wanted her to choose Peter. They had some men in there that were going to be particularly antagonizing, one being a racist, others just being not that great catches, and probably forcing her to keep Eric till the end, just for optics to look appropriate. So she's already never really had the most pleasant experience, other than the fact that she found the man that she was going to marry. And now Bachelor Nation is coming for that poor woman who's done nothing but try to be kind and educate without being mean. I feel like she's been such a good voice that, like, just to show what's been going on, and Bachelor Nation is coming for her so much. And here is Carolyn. Hi, Carolyn has said, so sad that the Karens are attacking Rachel Lindsay to the point that she has deactivated her Instagram account. So Rachel Lindsay, I think the only Bachelorette that has less than 1 million followers, has now deactivated her Instagram profile because of people saying that she's ruining Chris Harrison's life, that she's ruining The Bachelor and The Bachelor franchise. What do you think in general about what people in her comments are saying to her, what she's done, and what are your thoughts about this part of the mess?
This is out of control that people are, commenting. And just so everyone, I don't know if everyone's been keeping up with it, but like from what we're gathering, like there's things like death threats being sent to her. People are emailing extra, trying to get her fired. And all of this stuff that's like, already this woman is publicly going through a lot, having to even talk about what she talks about publicly and get crucified for having opinions and trying to actually speak towards something that's important. Like, it's already so stressful for her to be dealing with everything that she's dealing with, let alone to add this layer. If you see all of this happening and you don't look at the discrepancy between what's happening with Rachel Lindsay and people like Chris Harrison and Rachael Kirkconnell, who are continuing to gain a following throughout all of this, and you don't think that there's something wrong with that discrepancy, then I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is like clear as day. There's nothing that can even be said about that. If you don't see that, then I don't know like what you're looking at. But I don't blame her for reaching a point where she's had enough. I hope that she's like still able to, continue to be supported by the people who are openly supporting her. Very few people in Bachelor Nation who actually speak out about this actively, but the people who do it all the time. and her fans. And I hope that she's able to, like, you know, somehow get lifted up through this moment. But it's absurd that that's happening. Absolutely absurd.
So I'm just going to read a little bit of a statement from, so she does a higher learning podcast with Van Lathan. He's from TMZ. I don't know if he still works with TMZ anymore, but she talks with him, I believe, once a week. And so his mini statement is, leave Rachel the F alone. This harassment is going too far. My co-host has zero today with the words of a grown-ass man who still doesn't get it. Chris Harrison, are you okay with people getting at Rachel to the point that she can't even exist on Instagram? Is anyone from the entire Bachelor Nation going to stand up and condemn this harassment of a Black woman? Yo, it's just an effing TV show. Y'all need to relax. I love you, Rach. F these people.
Seriously, no one from the network is going to say anything about this. Come on.
It's not cool. It's not cool that we have to have grace for Rachael Kirkconnell. We have to have grace for Chris Harrison. And the people being like, oh, he can't lose his job. He shouldn't lose his job over this. Like, it is just consequence for actions. Like, he did something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And he's getting punished. And it just so happens his punishment is in the public eye. And his punishment means that he loses his job. You know, like that. I like Chris Harrison as part of the franchise too. Like, he's part of what I expect to see when I see The Bachelor. So yes, like, it upsets me to an extent that things are going to change and that it's not going to be the way that it was. But I'm also excited that it's going to change because it's not going to be the way that it was. And so
exactly.
If he's not,
that's what we want to happen. We want it to not be that way.
Exactly. And so I feel for Rachel for the fact that she can't even exist on Instagram because people are giving her so much hate for fighting for the rights of Black people to be just like present on this show. Like, she's fighting for the fact that for her to have the right to speak about these issues without having hate. And so it was really, really, it didn't really feel great to hear that she had to go into hiding, basically, because it's like people are so cruel to her, and there's like all this grace and woke police that people are talking about, and there's no grace, and the woke police are not woke enough to recognize that it's a harassment of a Black woman. It's blatantly. Hi, Moses. Yes, today we have a lot of very hot topics.
Yes.
So I think the last part of this, before we actually get into this episode, I mean, the show doesn't even matter anymore, really. Because
the show beyond the show is like what we're all watching right now, and we're all invested in, I think, more than this actual season at this point.
I mean, I did say, I was talking on Robin's podcast, the Bachelor wrap-ups, and it kind of came to me that I'm like, I love The Bachelor and The Bachelorette because it's kind of like junk food and like, it's not that serious or whatnot. And I do appreciate those so much that these issues are coming to the light, because this is a platform that's going to, it actually is making change. I know it's uncomfortable. I know that it's changing what we know of the show. I know it's like icky to have to be always talking about race. I get it. If you don't always talk about race, it's really uncomfortable to talk about it. And it's like, enough already. But I can't say enough already because I experience it every day. So just kind of getting to our skin a little bit, the fact that like now everybody's experiencing what we people of color experience on a daily basis all the time. So I think really, considering it's such a fluff TV show, I think it actually is making change happen, because everything has to come to the light before it can settle, the dust can settle. So it's definitely, I find really interesting. I don't want anybody to be hurt, of course.
No,
it's fascinating as a person that loves the study of human behavior and how human beings interact in situations. The reasons why I love reality TV in general. I know it's like reality TV, but this is a real issue that's come out of reality television, and I find it immensely fascinating.
I think it's really like important to talk about it too. Like to your point, I don't necessarily know that I'm equipped to like have nuanced conversations about race, but I think an important part is like actually having those conversations and pushing past like the discomfort or this feeling like I might say something that's wrong. It's like you just like let's normalize having those conversations a bit more. And yeah, we're not always going to say things that everybody agrees with, or it's not going to be said in a way that is to everyone's liking, but I think it's important to try and to try like consciously, especially like as a white person talking about race on a podcast. I feel like it's more important to say something and like really try and engage in that conversation in a positive way and learn if you stumble. So that's my perspective on it.
And even for myself, like I've always until this year have censored my actual opinions about race issues, et cetera, because I never want to play the black card or have anybody think that I play the race card or ever. So I was always shying away from being that type of person that would bring up something that might make white people feel uncomfortable. So I for my whole life, I've always avoided race talks. And so with this whole last year, I realized I'm like, I can't even go back to like any of my regular jobs because I don't think I can keep my mouth shut anymore. Even in this podcasting world, like when people were saying like, oh, I think that Michelle should be the next Bachelorette. And I'm like, I don't think that ABC's there yet. I mean, I would love it. I think that she's a fantastic woman and I would love to see her love journey because I don't feel as though she's going to be the one that Matt is going to leave with in the end. And I think she deserves love. But I'm like, I don't know if The Bachelor is ready for that. And I don't think I was ready to say that publicly a year ago.
Right.
So I think
for sure.
Really, I think that's really profound that this silly little TV show on ABC has given me an opportunity to point out some of these systemic racist issues that are happening within network television. So it's changing, even though we're going kicking and screaming, but it's actually changing. So the
change is not comfortable. So
exactly. So the last thing on the docket here is talking about there's some potential new host allegations. So I'm just going to read you a statement. It's from OK Magazine. So I don't know how real it is or how true it is, but I thought it was interesting. So I'll just read this quickly. So the After the Final Rose taping has been delayed until ABC can find the perfect host. Rachel Lindsay was their first choice, but she declined. Next, they looked at several other former bachelors, bachelorettes, or suitors from the show, but in the end, they decided that this show was so important to the future of the franchise. The OK source dishes. They needed someone who was not only popular and charming, but also have a massive amount of live TV experience, which is why they want Michael Strahan. There is so much concern about the future of the show within ABC. The insider adds, if they don't get this episode right, they could kill this cash cow. There is talk about taping the show rather than doing it live. So what do you think of that being a possibility of Michael Strahan being, the host of After the Final Rose? And then it seems as though that whoever is going to play this role may be the future face of the franchise, and maybe Chris Harrison might still be part of the production team, like be a producer, but maybe he's not going to be the face anymore. What do you think?
I mean, I think they'll definitely use this special as a testing ground for whoever they put in there. But I definitely think it needs to be somebody who has the resume to back it up, someone who has the hosting experience, and also someone who would be able to skillfully like navigate conversations. At the same time, it's still ABC, so they'll all be presented in a primetime TV way. So I would feel like someone like Michael Strahan would be an awesome choice for that. He's a great host. I think he'd be able to kind of lead the ship in a great way, and I'm down for that.
And he also has familiarity with the show. One, I can't remember which show of his that with Keke Palmer. anyways, they always had the Bachelorette or Bachelor segments where people would come on or whatnot, and they'd have, you know, kind of fun segments about it. But he's familiar with the show, and then also what I know about his life story through The Blind Side. But like he was taken into a white family, so he may understand some of the prejudices that Matt James may not understand from the world that he lives in. You know, Michael knows more so what it feels like to have prejudice and like racism in his lifetime growing up. So I think that he will have a really great perspective, and it seems like it'll be a little more nuanced than Matt. So I think he'd be a great person to take the reins if that were the case. So
yeah,
they're kind of that's a very good idea. A smart person made that suggestion.
Yeah, someone who's qualified and can actually talk about this stuff, and that's like likable. Wow, who knew? But I also like that's a good name to have floating around for sure.
And even if it's not him, to put that name out there, then other names will start coming out of the woodworks of like really good potentials. Like people will be pitched, suggestions will start flying around. And so even if it's just to get the ball rolling, and so we can understand the direction that the Bachelor wants to go in, I think it's really good all around for getting somebody that's qualified, as you mentioned, to over or just do the after the final rose. Hello, Tamika. Thanks for joining us. I'm just going to get to these comments now, and then I think we'll get into the actual episode. Right? Oh, and see, yeah.
Right.
And Moses, I do believe, I agree with you here. You're talking about like Matt not really knowing how to navigate the world of racism, Black racism in America. It doesn't seem like it's something that he's used to. And he's probably, like I have, like had to kind of silence yourself growing up just so you can fit in and not be like made to feel different because you weren't white. And so I grew up in a white world, and so I definitely understand that being a challenge to him. But him being the first Black Bachelor is problematic that he can't have more profound conversations, I feel. Okay, so Tamika says, I think what's actually happening is finally setting that he was a setup. Yes, he was set up to have a whitewash first Black Bachelor season. I mean, I think that they didn't realize what it would take to have the first Bachelor, be Black. I don't think they understood that just having someone that has darker, like melanin in their skin is not necessarily enough to do whatever they needed to do in order to have a successful first Black Bachelor season. They definitely went whitewashed in the sense that it doesn't seem as though Matt has had or expressed his experiences that will allow him to have these profound conversations. He just doesn't seem like he's there yet. Sorry, where else did I miss here? Oh, we scrolled all over. You guys have been talking. Okay, I'm gonna get you.
Okay.
Okay, where are we? We are here. So Tamika also mentions, like, if you see his older brother, it seems like he was raised totally different. I haven't seen his older brother. Have you seen his older brother, Tanya?
Matt has an older brother?
I guess.
Oh, no, I honestly didn't even know he had an older sibling.
I thought he had a younger brother. I don't know. I'm not sure. So yes, he was. His mother is white, and I believe his father is Black. But we don't know much about his father. Sandra says, is that what we do? Yeah. It's clear that Matt didn't have the type of parent who explained to him what life will be like as a Black person, like the parents of POC do. Exactly. Like when Black Lives Matter came, like it was really, really in June or around June, July, when it was really heightened. I was watching a TikTok of again, darker skinned Black boy. He's probably about 15, talking about like the things that his mother had to teach him. It's like, don't go outside like after dark. Don't drive with a wife beater on. Don't wear a do-rag in public. Always say yes, sir. Never, always ask permission to reach for something if you're in the presence of a cop. Like, it was just all these things that things were taught to a 15-year-old black boy at this point about how to basically not get killed by police officers. And I just don't know if Matt had that type of talk. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I don't know if it was part of his growing up. And it's great that if he never had to experience anything like that. But even my mom has had to have that conversation with my brother, being like, hey, like, you know, if you're driving, you drive a nice car, like make sure, like, you know what I mean? Like she has to remind him that driving nice cars when you're black is like a recipe for getting pulled over. So
Right.
I agree with you, Cassandra. I don't know if he had those same conversations that somebody raised by a black woman or parents would. Did you guys see Rachel K's mom interview with the Sun? I didn't read it. Did you look at that?
I did open up the Reddit post about it, but I didn't end up diving into it because it was just like there was a lot happening on there this week in terms of all of these interviews and everything that we've discussed up until this point. So I didn't dive into it, but I recalled seeing that she spoke to the Sun.
Yeah, I didn't read it, but you guys are probably going to inform me here. So Beeping says Rachael Kirkconnell is talking to her mother, who thinks that she did nothing wrong. Exactly. Her mom's going to think she did nothing wrong. And like, please stop like harassing my daughter, which I don't want anybody to get death threats. Like, I don't think that that is the answer to anything, but holding her accountable is, I think, is okay for her.
Holding accountable. And also like, if you're actually thinking that she did nothing wrong or that these actions are not wrong, to me that points to like how deeply entrenched racist beliefs are in wherever they grew up in. And like, I think it's like a smaller town. I'm sure that that's the norm of like the way people think there. So that's a problem. Like, if you think that that's not wrong, like that's like a very deeply ingrained problem. This is like exactly the point. So like, what are you talking about? Your daughter or not? Like, the problem is very clearly a part of the belief system that's happening there.
So Rachel's mother had a textbook excuse for every one of Rachel's infractions. Oh, maybe I do want to find it. Okay. Ironic, she said uncomfortable conversations after posting a photo of her reading book. Exactly. Oh my gosh. Like her mom, though, like we're going to talk about her a little bit more, but you're right, though. She's not teaching Rachel that it's not okay. And that's where the issue lies, is that Rachel never knew that it wasn't okay. And
right
now. And her mom seems to still not know. Natalie says, Ivan said that he will not go to Paradise if Chris Harrison is there. And what if more cast members come out and say they will not go on Paradise if Chris Harrison is there? Will they fire him? It looks like he may get fired. It does look like this.
It does look like that. Matt, like I said about Matt's statement, led me to believe that that was like a very serious possibility. Because yeah, I think the more people continue to like press down on the fact that that's not cool, and if people actively don't want to be there, then if that's enough people too, like I think realistically he might get fired anyways, regardless of whether people, you know, boycott going to Paradise or whatnot. But yeah, he doesn't need to be there. Like, it's fine. The show really doesn't even need a host, to be honest.
I mean, I do a little bit to be able to have a little bit of back and forth with the lead.
Yeah.
Don't fully need him.
It doesn't need to be Chris. It can be anybody. Who knows what potential like the role of the host could have if it was not him. That's all we know is Chris. Like, what's to say it couldn't be more fun to have someone else do it?
True. It's true. So Moses says it's so refreshing to see racists being held accountable for their actions. It is. And like there's sometimes like I didn't want things to happen. Like I liked Stassi on but I'm like, you know what, Stassi, though? You are kind of a shitty person, and I can't be upset that you lost your job for being shitty here. Like, you know, like sucks because I like you, but it also sucks that you said these things. So
oh yeah. Vanderpump is a great example of just like that everything that happened in the fallout from the firings that occurred, which was 4 cast members, including Stassi, is actually, I feel, kind of calls into question like the entire show existing at this point, because it was like maybe one of the more problematic casts that's out there in terms of their behavior. And I say this like, I love Vanderpump Rules. Like, I widely consider this to be like one of my favorite reality shows, especially the early seasons. It's like, you know, chef's kiss. But I also have to think about it now, looking back and being like, she was always awful, you know, like it wasn't like she was not kind of bad the entire time. So we shouldn't be surprised. And then, yeah, they fired half the show anyways. So, and by this point, also Jackson and Brittany are not there, which is great, but like that's half the cast. So, like, does the show exist as it was before? I don't think so.
I don't know how it could, but
I digress.
Exactly. Tamika says she needs to talk to her mama. That's why it seems performative. The post with the book in the background, performative. Your mother is giving whole interviews to the son, making light of everything. Yeah, like get your mama off the the mic, because she's not helping the cause here at all. She needs to have a little speak with the publicist before she goes and talks to the son. Absolutely. So, Louis, yes, so we don't know if this is official, if Michael Strahan is replacing the host. I wouldn't be surprised if it was somebody that they're throwing out there just to look like they're doing something, and then maybe still stick with Chris. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it could just be, this could be performative of them throwing this out as an option, but I could see them going this direction, at least for the final rose, and then seeing how how received he is, maybe moving forward, if it's going to be better for the franchise. Because no matter what, it's all about the money. They would have stuck by Chris as long as it didn't cost them any money. And so I think that if it starts costing them a pretty penny, they'll say goodbye to Chris in a heartbeat, because at the end of the day, it's about the dollars. USA high school graduation should require a semester course in Black history from slavery to George Floyd at the very least. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah. Somebody, I don't remember who it was saying there should be white history, like what they actually did in history classes, not, just sticking flags places, but like how they were able to stick flags places. What had to happen in order for them to have these plantations? What had to happen for them to be honoring Confederate flags? Like what happened? Why do they have these statues? Right? Why
exactly.
are they being named after these slave owners? Like, that's
absolutely
white history that needs to be shown, not just like the end result, and not showing the path to get there is only through Black history that you learn about maybe in February. But I think in the white history, regular history, they need to go a little bit deeper in the truth about how things went down.
Undoubtedly, the entire history curriculum needs to be heavily revised across the board. And yeah, absolutely, there should be a required course in Black history. In the same way, there should be a required course in Indigenous history. As Canadians, when I was in middle school and high school, the learning wasn't that extensive in terms of Indigenous history, and that easily should be its own course as well, to understand the context of even being Canadian. So, yep, all of that needs to change, and I'm hopeful that it will start to change as we keep moving through these types of conversations.
100%. Because it's like, why do we all have to do research in learning the truth behind history when history is a
right
school?
Yeah, exactly. And then what are we being taught? It's literally just conveniently packaged information that benefits one set of people only and not anybody else. It erases what actually happened.
Exactly. And then it's like, oh, I didn't learn about that. It's like, it's true, you didn't, because it was written by a white person.
Exactly.
Scrub the history books. So Louis says, I really wish that Big Mike was the Bachelor. At least we were familiar with him in being in Bachelor Nation. Yes, I think that would have been a smarter choice, but through speculation, it seems as though he wanted a variety of colors and shapes of women that at the time when he was in consideration, Bachelor ABC wasn't willing to have the women that he would like to be, dating. And so it wasn't in alignment with what Bachelor wanted them then. And I think that whole experience probably left a bad taste in both of their mouths about working together. And so I don't think that he was even going to be a consideration this time around.
I mean, the fact that they went out of their way to choose Peter that year when Mike was an option tells you, again, everything that you need to know about why he wasn't selected.
So Bean says Matt had no choice. It would have been a public suicide for him to stay with Rachael Kirkconnell. Yes, especially because he's not someone that stands up for Black rights so far. It's just not been in his world. And so I don't think that he could have get through this together as a couple because he doesn't have a strong enough stand himself, in my opinion.
Yeah. And also he wants to be the partner of her as she's navigating this discovery for herself. I just feel like it doesn't serve him to be with someone like that.
At all. Hi, Brianna. So who do you think would be the best match for Matt? I always thought and still think that him and Michelle would be the best match. Yeah, we're going to talk probably more about this when we get into the episode. If we get there, we'll get there in 5 minutes. Hopefully we can blow through these comments. I definitely feel as though Michelle likes him the most out of the final 4 women. She has hard eyes when she looks at him. He seems to really... There's something about their comfort level that he does seem to have when he's with her. He enjoys her presence. And I just don't know if he just feels comfortable with being in a relationship with her. I think there's something more comfortable for him being in a relationship with someone that looks like his mother. It's just, I think that comes into play. And yeah, I just don't think that he's going to choose her. But I do think that right now she would be the best match out of these final 4. What do you think?
I agree. I think when he's around her, we see these really nice aspects of his personality come out. She brings out in him qualities that I think are attractive. So to me, that's a good partner, someone who kind of helps lift you up and helps you be better. And I feel like that's what she would do for him. I just don't know if that's necessarily I think she's ready to settle down. She's ready to go down that road. I don't know that he really is able to do that.
Yeah, so Tamika agrees with you here, and with Brianna. Michelle, if he was actually looking for a grown-up relationship and someone to marry, it does seem
exactly.
as though Rachael is the more fun choice, and Michelle is the more real choice for what he's to be looking for being the Bachelor. So let's talk about Chris Harrison here. Chris was definitely coddling Rachael 100%, and that he's not being well received because why aren't you coddling Rachel Lindsay, who is being crucified just like Rachael Kirkconnell was, but she hasn't actually even done anything wrong.
Right.
So Cassandra says the truth is Bachelor Nation are Trump supporters and racists. I mean, a lot are, and I don't necessarily mean if you are a Trump supporter that you are a racist, but I do feel as though many might not for Rachel Lindsay that much.
I think definitely a lot are, but then I also think that this is the stupidity of the way they try and package the show to us is they are trying to push on audiences that are literally screaming no, this is not what we want to see on TV. They're telling us that this is what we want to see. So while I think there's a large portion of people who definitely are, Trump supporters or racists, as Cassandra is mentioning here, there's also plenty of people who are not and actually are saying this is not what we want to see. They're just actively choosing to push this narrative that this is what we want to see. And it's not reflective of its audience base right now. I think Bachelor Nation has changed a lot, especially over the last I would say even 3 years, to having a different base of fans, or a slightly wider and younger demo of fans that they didn't have like in all the years leading up to that. It was not as widely received in this way, I feel.
I agree.
Uh-oh. I wish I could move the chat.
I'm sorry. Yeah, internet's being a little
Sorry.
bit funky here. Where are we? Sorry, this all went back down here. Let's get back to where. Hi, Sam. Okay, so I got back to where we were, I think. I didn't hear what you said because I was frozen and I got kicked out, but I'm sure that I agree with you. Here. That's where we were, right? And then struggling, and then yeah, exactly, Tamika. So they put a whole racist on Rachel's season, and I truly think they tried the same thing this season, except Matt wasn't wise enough to see it. Ooh. Do you think that that's kind of a tinfoil hat moment here? Do you think that they knew that Rachel was potentially had a colored past? And maybe had made some offside remarks or actions?
I don't know. I don't know in the case of Rachel specifically if she is someone that they knew that about, but also at the same time, like, if you're casting, like, you know, this girl from like a small southern town of primarily white people, you could probably like surmise that there will be certain biases there. I don't know that they necessarily knew about the photos per se, but like, I think Rachel is a symptom of a larger issue. Rachael Kirkconnell is a symptom of a larger issue, which is like you could probably pluck a lot of girls that are just like her from her town out, and the same stuff would surface. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Okay, so also, okay, this is interesting or like scary. The most prominent name in conservative politics in the US, Ben Shapiro, talked about Rachel, and so she's getting death threats, and I honestly worry for her safety. I don't know who Ben Shapiro is. We're both Canadian, so I'm not fully well versed in American politics. Do you know anything about this?
No, but that's terrible, and it doesn't surprise me when like types of people that have a following like that say something, the response is so fervent from people that are into them, and like it's so insane. It happens like online often, and it's messed up. You can't be threatening to hurt someone. Like, you cannot be doing that.
It's just
That's out of line, like completely out of line.
Move. So Moses says anytime a Black person stands up against racism and isn't buck dancing is going to face white lash. Is that the new phrase, white lash? So the people against Rachel Lindsay are on average, jealous, uneducated, and lazy with no professional credentials. They are repulsed by dark-skinned Black women who is better qualified than they are. It's very true that the privilege runs deep, even if they're not educated and not someone that is even comparable with their credentials professionally, personally, whatnot. Has a lot of opinion, and they usually throw the first stone here. Amen is right. Will Chris Harrison come out and defend Rachel Lindsay the way he defended Rachael Kirkconnell? I don't see that happening.
I doubt it.
He should. If he wants to like save any face, he should. All I heard actually was that he lowered his cost on his OnlyFans, apparently.
On his cameo.
Oh, cameo. Sorry.
Cameo.
It's hilarious, actually. It was totally.
Yeah, in an alternate reality that no one is present for right now, Chris Harrison has an OnlyFans. But maybe that's where he is releasing his literature.
Stop.
So he was on, he was on Cameo, and then like some days after everything went down with the interview, and then as he was stepping away, dude was on Cameo, like charging people for messages, and then everyone was like, "What the fuck are you doing on Cameo, Chris?" And then he stopped doing it again.
Well, what I was saying when
Does he really need to make the $300? Like, come on.
Well, I was saying, like, if he wanted to make a step in the right direction to maybe have it go towards some sort of charity or like an initiative that would support getting some more learning and becoming more woke,
Yeah.
you know, and have some of his followers to look at what initiatives he was supporting. That I can get behind, but the fact that he's trying to make a buck in lieu of like the fact
Yep.
that he crosses like a really shitty human being, not a great look.
Right.
Carolyn says Nick Viall was very vocal on Instagram about Rachel Lindsay being harassed. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of Nick Viall, but I'm happy that he's at least standing up for her. Or
yeah, he should be.
Yeah, exactly. It will continue to be extremely difficult to look at Chris Harrison's face after he disrespected and degraded Rachel Lindsay in the way that he did. I know, and he has evil behind the eyes, in my opinion. I always was a little wary about him, but he was something like part of the show, and like I like the consistency of his persona. But I always felt that he had a little bit of evil behind the eyes, and it came out, in my opinion.
He could also say something right now and be like, "Stop harassing Rachel Lindsay." Like, you know, it would be very helpful actually for you to say, "Hey, don't do that."
Please.
That might actually be useful, but no, don't do it. You know, just continue to, you know, collect money for your golf fees with your cameos. I can't with him.
Cassandra says people are saying that the show should get canceled. At first I said no, but to be honest, the show isn't even that good anymore. So one of the reasons why I don't think it should be canceled is because that means that it's taken away an opportunity from potential Black people or people of color getting to be on this particular show. So I think that we should be having these conversations, supporting the show. It's giving an opportunity and a platform for these conversations to happen, and B, give opportunity to people of color that have always been shut out, have always been like, oh, there'll be one person there for like the joke or for the optics, but not for the actual love story. And so in order for us to see change, we have to support it, because they so quickly does the show want to be like, see, we have a Black lead and we lose all of our followers. See, they want to be able to blame people of color for their ratings going down. And that's why we need to support it. We need to, you know, every Black person that wants to see change has to start watching this show, because, you know, we want to see more representation on our TV. Yeah. So that means that we have to support this representation on the TV screen. So it being canceled doesn't, I don't think, help the problem. I was saying the same thing with Love Island when people were saying the show should be canceled because they weren't showing the relationship between Justine and Caleb. I'm like, no, we have to keep watching it, because we need the platforms to be there in order for these conversations to happen and for change to start happening. We can't take away these opportunities. That's my piece.
I'm with you. No, I'm with you. I don't really have much more to add. I get it. I think like the larger conversation that comes from this is like way bigger road to go down, is like, yes, like this show is very broken. It kind of takes away from the efforts that have been made to try and change it, to just like give up now. But at the same time, it's also like justifying like continuing to watch something that could potentially be, you know, really not good for certain people's lives. So I get it. I get the conversation. On a bigger level, I think it's like, how complicit are we in manipulation by watching and participating in reality TV, which we know has like negative mental health effects on the people that go on there. At the same time, it can be a very big and important platform for people. Like you said, like there are some women that are on Real Housewives that have like built like a career being a TV personality that extends actually far beyond them being on reality TV. And I think that's a good thing for a lot of people. But on the reverse, like, is it rotten to be participating and watching things that manipulate people? yeah, like that's a moral conversation. I don't really know.
For sure. But I just looking at it from the opportunity perspective.
Yeah.
And like, I never thought that there would be a day where there would be a Black Bachelorette. So to take away that show before that ever happened, that doesn't even see like it could be a possibility for me until that happened. And so that's why I do feel that it's important to keep these shows on, and maybe then look at, you know, how much counseling and, you know, work is being offered from these shows after the fact, with backlash that might happen from being on reality television. So I think that's just putting more onto the network for taking care of their people. Like that's what happened. I don't think the cancellation of the show is the answer to change. It doesn't help it facilitate, in my opinion.
Agree.
So Moses being a little bit facetious here, like when racist and Rachel's racist sympathizers are uncomfortable. Yep, I do, because we've been uncomfortable for years, for lifetimes. So it's the haves versus the have-nots. The haves want to keep the racism in place because they benefit from him, and any attempt to change society makes stronger anger surface. 100%. And that's also why I wouldn't want to take it off the air, because like I don't want this to be relevant anymore, you know, like, because if it goes off the air, you know, then the haves are gonna be like, Black people ruin this show for us, and like it's just not good.
Yeah.
Moses would like to see Bria as the next Bachelorette. That will never happen, but
love her.
BB Canada contestant that was so that was supposed to be on the season, got let go for his comments. Absolutely, he was already taken out. Now, I have an issue with it possibly being from casting, who's been casting these, you know, last 20 years of both shows. They don't seem to have an eye for the racist. They can't spot the person that's going to be problematic. And so, yes, one of the house guests has been already let go, and he's already been replaced, and he was wiped already. Okay, so apparently they quarantined after the final rose.
After the final rose right now.
Tamika would love to see Michelle, Bree, Serena P, or Abigail as the Bachelorette. Agreed. I think that the most likely pick would be Abigail, in my opinion, from that grouping. They're taping. Okay. I'm interested. Ooh, okay. I don't think so. What if Dale auditioned for it since he wants to be the next Ryan Seacrest? I know you're laughing here, Cassandra, or crying, but no, thank you.
Absolutely not.
Who's that? Robin Roberts would be better. She asked a lot of tough questions in interviews before. I don't know who that is. Do you?
Yeah. You've seen Robin Roberts before. I feel like, I don't know what she is on right now, but she was on Good Morning America. I don't know if she's still on Good Morning America, but
I'll have to look at her picture. You'll doubt that Tamika doubts they'll go live at this point. I would love for them to go live.
that would be that would be crazy, but yeah, I don't think so.
It'd be too hard to go live with a brand new host. That would be nice. From NFL Hall of Famer to host of The Bachelor. Are we talking about Michael again? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Michael Strahan.
Strahan would ask softball questions. Not necessarily. Blindside what? I mean, I didn't like that movie, and I didn't think Sandra Bullock deserved the Oscar for it, but it's an interesting story. Michael, Sarah, and Kiki was Good Morning America was the show. Okay, thank you. Matt has a younger brother. Yeah, that's what I thought. So I'm not sure who the older, unless there's an older brother that we're talking about. Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. Rachel and Van spoke of Matt's brother on Higher Learning. His name is John, the Scorpio on Instagram and YouTube. He performs a rap that seems pretty socially conscious. Very interesting. I'm going to look that up after.
I didn't know that. Okay.
I heard they had the new we don't know. It hasn't been announced officially. I don't know if it's just a publicity stunt. Exactly. The show doesn't need a host. Chris Harrison and Vanna White's jobs are pointless.
Seriously, it really doesn't need it. It really doesn't. He doesn't really do anything. Like, they're finding things for Chris to do because, like, Chris has, been around, but it you could just not have a host and it would progress the same way. It would be fine.
Yeah, it would be. I do like the back and forth, though, as I said. Bean says you have to consider the possibility that Kirkconnell knew exactly what she was doing. Her sorority banned those development parties in 2016, but her sorority chapter had the 2018 party deliberately. Yeah, like, why was it banned?
So you're attending a school that has a sorority and fraternity that's upholding a celebration of the Old South. How does that institution itself not have racist ties? Like, you don't get that? You must. Like, or you're choosing to not get that, or like I said, it's so entrenched that you don't even realize that that's wrong. No matter which way you slice it, it's not cool. Like, just
Like,
it's not okay.
My mom about this, and I was like, okay, so they banned hazing, right? And like hazing, you're not allowed to haze like the freshmen in university anymore, because there's a lot of people that were dying from the cruel hazings that were happening. And so if the school, like your fraternity, decide to do hazing again, and they get caught because somebody complains about the fact that, like, they did something terrible and my life was in danger or whatever it was, and then somebody was reprimanded for allowing the hazing to happen and participating in it, we wouldn't be like, oh my God, like, let's protect the hazers at all. Like, you would not. And so if we look at, Rachel attending these parties as like a racial hazing that's been banned, like, we should be looking at the people that were doing the bad, the wrongdoing, even though it's been banned. So, Rachel, you chose to do it, and
exactly,
that's just it. Okay, so high fashion for me. I live in the USA, and that is not a requirement in our state in the Northeast. When you get to college, that's when you're able to learn Black history in a course. Wow. Yes, the white version of history is, yes, a bit of joke history. His story, the white man's story.
Yes, exactly. His tale.
What is going on with Bachelor and what is happening on Basketball Wives? I haven't watched Basketball Wives. Even Evelyn using a monkey emoji to talk about Black women, now claiming it's not. Oh my God, that's just not where it's at.
That also happened on Southern Charm as well. Same emoji as well.
Oh no.
Yeah. But I mean, Southern Charm. So again, not surprising.
Oh, it's just so bad. Black Twitter would have eaten Matt alive if he had stayed with Rachel. That is true. He could not handle that.
He can't do it. Like, I also hope he wouldn't want to, like, out of respect for himself. Like, come on. Jeez.
So I think the season's not being a real priority is the reason why the show should be canceled. Okay. Matt isn't even a good bachelor. The fact that they're taping after the final rose this weekend is huge. I mean, Matt isn't a good bachelor in my opinion. I know a lot of people really, really like him as a bachelor, but I find him personally to be fake for the Black Bachelor. Like, it's like, if he's just the man that was a bachelor that was coming on and we're watching his story, it's fine. But the fact that he has a cape put on of him that's going to be like the savior of the series, the franchise, and prove that there's no racism there. It just, like, he's not that right person for that role. But I think he's a good person. I just don't think that him being the first Black Bachelor as his role in the show is great. Personally,
I guess whoever it could have been in this position, though, like, if they were casting along the lines of casting someone that's like Matt, like, would be faced with the same type of problem. I don't think it's necessarily him as the lead, if that makes sense. Like, I think it's just like the conversations have taken a life like so far, like, outside of just what we're seeing on Monday nights when we watch the show, that I think that would be something that played out even if he wasn't the lead, but they cast someone else that was Black. I think it would still, it's putting an emphasis on someone to kind of like represent like something that's like way beyond what one individual human can do. So it just doesn't make sense to put that pressure on someone. It's not like they're really being set up for success.
No, he
Not
was.
saying that Matt is blameless for like certain things, but like in terms of the lead role as the first Black Bachelor, that's like they didn't set him up for success at all.
Well, especially they should have learned a little bit from what have been happening with Rachel. Like
Yeah.
who's more equipped to handle it. So, what do we think of the preview of the Women's Tell All? I'm not surprised that Victoria has not admitted what she did. I haven't really watched. I watched a brief clip, and it seems like Victoria was crying. I'm actually interested to see what happens on this Women Tell All. Usually I don't care for it that much, but I think it'll be interesting. I wouldn't mind if Sarah came there, and I want to see if Victoria has any apologies for Sarah. So
I was just shocked with Matt's beard. Like I literally was like, when he came out with that huge beard, I was like, whoa, this is a choice that's being made. And it was shocking to see. I had no idea.
seen him with the beard, but it didn't. I've seen him look better with the beard too.
Yeah, it just looks like weirdly groomed. I don't know if it was just like slightly too long or I don't know. I'm not trying to beard shame. I don't love it. I don't love it for him. I don't love it for him.
Joseph agrees with me. I just think that if the lead this season actually had emotions and cared about the ladies, people would care. Yeah, that's true too.
Do you think the show allows for the lead to actually have emotions and care though? Like for whomever is the lead to really like come across that way? I don't know.
Whoa, this is some tea. So Joseph says Celebrity Wheel of Fortune had an episode this week that featured Chris Harrison, played for Feeding America. He donated $62,650. People were mad that it still aired.
Yeah, they put like, I don't know if it was a disclaimer. I don't think disclaimer is the right word, but there was a messaging associated that was like, this was taped like on this date, like way before all of this stuff happened. And like that was included in his appearance. And then it literally still aired. So.
I mean, they should have just like put a stamp on like change the charity that you like or like.
I think a lot of the Wheel of Fortune audience probably doesn't have a problem with Chris Harrison. That's true. I can venture to say.
That is true. Tamika suggests to just have formal leads and contestants come in and mentor at this point. I mean,
that could be fun.
That could be interesting. Whoa, this is a hot take. Moses seeing Victoria. I mean, she was okay. I didn't care for her in the end, but in the beginning, she was a little bit amusing. And Fashion says, I think that what frustrates me about race issues and people wanting Black people to move on is that it's still happening. How can you get past something that is still happening with little accountability? Exactly. I can't say anything more. Other than, let's get to this damn episode. Let's just blow through it, though. We did have a scene where Matt was working out. At the very Peloton was there. His shirt was on, so I was surprised about that.
Honestly, that count has fizzled out. I'm just so disappointed. We started off so strong, and I'm quite frankly concerned that we're not going to reach my goal of 10.
Well, didn't you see though? I don't know where I wrote it down, but it seems as though maybe the final 2 episodes, there's a lot of hot tubs and shirts off. So I think that you're able to pick up some points there. How many points are you at right now? Because I'm saying the under on 10, you're saying the over on 10, correct?
I'm saying 10. I'm saying at least 10. Yeah. And I think there's been 5, maybe. I can't remember. Maybe 6, but I want to say, I think 5. Because it's been a while. We've had a dry spell. We only had shirtless Tyler as well, not Matt.
We thought it was going to be both. We thought it was going to be both. Jeff thought this. Okay, so Chris addresses the final 4 women, and about they're all going to be having their hometown dates. I didn't write down what they said, but the first hometown date, and Emma Cullen, is Michelle, and they both show up wearing periwinkle blue shirts. They go bike riding. They go to a big room and have a Zoom call with her students. What do you think of the Zoom call and the questions that were being asked, and maybe how Matt responded?
I don't know how I feel about this. I feel kind of uncomfortable. Just because the entire lead up to them walking into that building was so funny. I was like, what is this? It looks like some government building with an auditorium, and it was. And then there was that Zoom screen in there. I think the kids asked some great questions. I'm sure their parents were glad to not have to do virtual learning that day. I think they like Michelle. You could tell like which kids are like the suck ups based on how they were talking to Michelle. And I thought Matt did okay. I thought he did pretty good answering the questions and being engaged with the kids and showing that he was invested in doing that.
So one of the questions was, is that your boyfriend? And this was the funniest thing that anybody could have said to Matt since the sexy date. Slapping moment for answering that question. Did you chuckle at his choice in humor here?
He's ridiculous. Like I said, he is an actual child. So it tracks for him in terms of what he thinks is funny. I can't. I just can't. With Matt's sense of humor, I just cannot. I don't understand. I don't understand it.
I thought it was one good question, though, that one of them asked is that, how will you inspire Miss Young? He didn't really answer it that well. I didn't even write down, I don't think, what he answered. But I did think that was a good question. Like, how are you inspire her? How are you going to make her life better?
Yeah.
Who are you to, like, come in here? Like, I like that, but I don't remember what he said, so it must not have been that profound, unfortunately.
I want to say he said something along the lines of, like, I want to be able to support her in what she's doing and like uplift her in like her career and the work that she does, something along those lines. I want to say, like, be there alongside, which is a very like political, like, correct, like, ooh, I'm just saying a nice answer, but I don't know that he really said anything there. Mm-mm.
Yeah, nothing. So after, they get all the thumbs up from the students and they go outside to have a picnic and talk about meeting her family. And it was a brown paper bag lunch with 2 perfectly positioned apples on a blanket. And I was like, couldn't they have just stepped it up a little bit? Like, we know that they're not going to be eating anything, but maybe look a little bit more extravagant than literally having a Zoom call and an apple for their like big date.
They could have just gone to craft services and had a better meal than that picnic lunch. Like, I don't understand what's going. They must have blown the budget on the skydiving.
Well, that we will get to that. And this is basically me setting up the fact that she got a brown paper bag and somebody else got quite an extravagant date.
Now, these hometown dates that are all not in anyone's hometown. So, like, how can one be so extravagant and one be so mediocre?
Exactly. So the night portion of the date comes, though, and I loved actually how they leave the picnic and they didn't bring the paper bags. They just get up and walk away. Like, how many times did you do that shot? It definitely seemed contrived or posed a little bit, but we know the Bachelor. So they have the night portion where he gets to meet her family, and her parents are very lovely. Dad seems so sweet. One of the moments that I really loved was when her mom asked her, she says, "You see how your dad treats me. Does Matt treat you like that?" And Michelle has these hard eyes for him, and she really says, yeah, like he does. And then also, I believe her father asks her if he asked her to marry her right now, would she say yes? And she said yes. So were there anything else that stood out from this date, other than their family being lovely, of course, that you wanted?
No, honestly, like, I really liked her family from what we saw. Her parents both seem sweet. I think it just really highlighted to me that he's not gonna, go down the road of picking Michelle. Unfortunately, even though they do have this great connection, I just think, like we talked about before, I don't think he wants what she wants right now. It just seems like they're not like moving at the same pace. So like she presents as like such a stable and awesome person, someone who really knows who they are, someone who has a career that's impactful, someone who, you know, has a good family, who's willing to start a family, who's, you know, wanting to go down that road. I don't think he's there, but she's like on paper such an amazing catch, and she clearly really does have feelings for him. And I actually believe that she would be there for him. Of all the people that are on the show this season, I buy that she would have seen him be cast and wanted to go on for the purpose of meeting Matt. So like it all makes sense, but there's just something there when you're watching it where you're like, she's gonna get her heart broken.
Yeah. And it
You
was
know?
upsetting just because her father asked him, "Are you in love with my daughter or not?" Like he just laid it out there and asked him. And he says that, you know, he's open to what comes with being with his daughter, that he was willing to move to Minnesota, which I was like, whoa, that's, I don't
Yeah, that was out of nowhere.
at all. I did feel though her mom seemed a bit worried about the relationship, just like with the questions that she was asking Michelle. But it does feel to me that Michelle is a little bit googly eyed for Matt, and it doesn't feel reciprocated by Matt in the same way right now, kind of like you're saying. So
Also because we've seen him reciprocate with other people, like so for Rachel, he has verbally like kind of given her confirmation that he feels the same way. So it shows you that you can say that if that's what you're feeling. He's choosing not to say it to any of the other women to that same extent. And he's not lying to their parents when he answers them. He's saying the right thing. Like he's like, yeah, I feel like I'm starting to fall for this person, or I'm falling for your daughter, but he's not in love with them in the same way that he's verbally kind of confirmed with Rachel. So, you know.
Bean says that Matt did well. You could tell that he had experience working with children. Like, yeah, he did okay with the kids. Fashion says, I was like, oh my God, these kids are asking good questions. Matt was a little shook. LOL. It was a nice segment between the two. It was a nice segment. Yes, it was okay. It was nice. I do want to just say one little thing back to before we were talking about the episode here, though, that Fashion pointed out that I do think is an important comment. He or she thinks disgusting the way that they use the word cancel culture to divert from people being held accountable. It's like Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter. It's a way to cloud the message. Absolutely. This is not an issue about cancel culture. And why can't people be canceled for the fact that they are not being stand-up human beings? I said it last week, I believe, that, you know, my friend was like, well, you should be canceled. You're an asshole. Like, why am I giving you money? Why are you getting endorsements?
Yeah.
Why are you being able to profit off of not being a great person? Like, I don't buy your brand anymore. You're done. Like,
yeah. And it's equating consequences and accountability as like ruining people's lives, and that's not what it is. Because for a lot of systems that we see where people are in power, they have no problem punishing people and making them feel like there's consequences for their actions if it benefits them. So it's not the same thing. Pointing out that somebody's being racist is not canceling them. It is pointing out that they've done something that's racist, which is what they did. Like that's what's happening. Yeah, like come on. Like so I agree.
Well, it's like if someone gets broken up with, be like, well, like, don't break up with them because they're like not nice people. Like you can't just break up with people because you find out something about them that you don't like. Like what? Yeah, we're done.
It's weaponizing like people holding people accountable in a way that's not fair, and it's done with to Fashion for me's point, like for the purpose of diverting from what's actually happening. So totally agree.
I thought it was an important point because I could have like a total podcast about cancel culture, because it's like even that word is so, it's like how Chris was using woke police. Like cancel culture isn't a thing. It was created by people to divert people from the actual problem. I totally agree with you, Fashion. So Joseph says, I thought that Michelle's hometown date was cute. The kid segment was nice. Michelle is somebody that Matt should have picked if he wanted to have a wife. Exactly. I might have said that already. I can't remember. Cassandra says Matt had the beard of a single man who wants to break up with him. I mean,
this is the beard of a guy who like goes abroad for a year and finds themselves and comes back and then is like, I just had like a life-changing year. This is like that kid in your university that went to Thailand for like 6 months and came back and was like, wow, I'm so enlightened now. Like that is what that beard represents.
Yes, it's the beard of like if you read tarot cards of the hermit. He's gone
yes.
to reflect, and now he's wise. It's the beard of the wise man. So yes, I do think the beard it was a choice, and the choice was to appear that he is more woke, because people that let their beard grow are more woke. You know, now you can do this. You know. Cassandra, or he wants to be this year's Black Santa. Hilarious. I mean. Sandra.
He's branching out for future career opportunities.
Tamika, I wonder if Michelle had come in earlier, if it would have made a difference, because I also feel that he's not ready to settle down. I do think it would have made a difference, because there was a lot of things about Michelle's date that I wanted to learn more. I think they mentioned a previous relationship that like really affected her, and like, okay, I want not that it's my business, but I did want to know more about where she was coming from and like some of her life experience. Like I do feel we missed out on getting to know Michelle a little bit. And it definitely have to do with the fact that she came in late, or later than anyone. I saw pictures of the women tell all and Sarah's not there. Eye roll. I wonder when Michelle had joined the show that she had already envisioned himself proposing to Rachel. It's possible, because he liked Rachel from the very beginning, from those fake crocodile tears about his prayer. I think he was already gaga for her. I think it's noticeable and telling that he seems to be the most into the three people who weren't really based on what we've seen as him, Kit, Serena P, and Rachel. Wait, I don't understand.
Like he's most into the people who don't seem to be as into him.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could be like the, want but you can't have type thing. You know what I mean?
Or he's just like totally misreading all of the cues. Like, because it's true with the Serena P point, which we'll get to when we cover her like segment, is like, I think based on this episode, Serena P might have been final too, based on how Matt was behaving, which to me is like, dude, you really thought that was like that on that level with her? I don't know. Read the room.
But also though, remember that he hasn't really had that many long-term experiences. So maybe he doesn't know, or maybe he doesn't allow himself to open up and to feel a real connection. Maybe he's too green in the developing new relationship category to be able to recognize him liking someone doesn't mean that they have a connection that's mutual and that they're on the same page. And that there's a difference. There's the difference when you're crushing on someone than when you guys are both into each other to the degree that you want to start a life together. And I don't know if he can recognize that yet for his inexperience, Yeah. Delma says, hi, Glossy. Okay.
Hello.
Glossy said he stepped down. Like, Glossy, are you late to the party? Moses, David Letterman beard. What? Like, wait.
So much has happened.
Why did he drop down? So step down, Chris Harrison, because I'll have to give you offline all the resources, because like that was
a lot has happened. A lot has happened. We'll have to fill you in detail because there's a lot.
Yeah, so Michelle seems classy and a woman with substance. Absolutely. She has a career, and Matt seems to not be truly ready to settle down as he is portraying. 100% agree. And I don't think that he's experienced in relationships moving to that level. And so I don't know if he was the right person relationship experience wise to be the Bachelor the lead of the show, the male side, like the Bachelor. A woman, I think, could be able to come into the role of the Bachelorette and not have had as much relationship experience. But I think as the male the side of it, I don't think that it works as well being inexperienced relationship wise. My opinion.
Yeah. Like you're supposed to be proposing. You're supposed to be proposing at the end. So that's not like nothing. You should probably have like maybe some baseline experience about, relationships, I hope. But yeah, to each their own.
To each their own. It's fine that he hasn't had that many relationships, but as the lead of the show, it's kind of it's very clear that he doesn't know how to read the relationship room, it seems. Yeah. That's pretty much all that happened with his I didn't see it, but everybody was talking about they started playing basketball at the beginning of the date. With the family. I missed
the whole family. Yeah, the whole family was playing basketball, shooting some hoops.
I wish
it was cute,
that part, because like Michelle is kind of fun and down to earth, and I would have liked seeing her like school him in basketball or whatever. Like it brings out natural competitiveness, which I like to see, like how people interact in those situations. So I didn't, but people talked about it, so I brought it up. So the date's pretty much over. I can't remember how they left. She seemed more happy and being like and more hopeful, and he just kind of seemed to not give her that much. But I still really like her, so I'm still my fingers crossed that she does well. But we know what's going to happen. So the next date is Rachel. So Rachel. Oh wait, sorry. Michelle did do the jump wrap around the legs, if I'm not mistaken. She did do that, but Rachel did not, what does this mean? I feel like this means.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. I don't know what it means. I mean, maybe it means that, because we know allegedly that production wants them to do this run and jump, which is not just me saying that. Tyler C said that. So I'm just saying from someone who's been there that that's what's happening. But her choosing not to do it, is that like, I'm not going to do what production tells me? Is it just don't feel like doing it? Is it we don't want you to do it? What does it mean? What does it mean? I don't know.
No, though, does it mean that she doesn't know how to do that?
Jump on him?
Doesn't know how to do it believably. Like, because
it's weird.
She's
like, who does that?
Into somebody, be like, okay, I'll run and jump into your arms, but she's calling like she's not into him, and so it's just, I think it's too awkward of a move for us to sell that she's into him. And it's just probably like, yeah, no, like I can look at him with doe eyes and I can smile, but I can't run and jump into his arms because I'm not feeling it. It's too much. So wait, the run and jump is scripted? I always thought it was
It's true. Every girl does this. I don't know how it's a secret we've kept so long. We go to the bathroom together and we also always run and jump into the arms of our partner. That's just what it is.
Exactly. So Tamika says exactly what I was about to say. Rachel literally put in the car looking like a scene straight out of a movie of Get Out, which was worse. And I wasn't going to say that, but that's really funny.
Oh gosh, yeah. I saw some memes like equating that, like scenes from the movie to Rachel's date, and I was like, that is on point, like 100%.
She shows up in this like fancy car, driving down this, Nemacolin, rolling hill. It wasn't rolling hills, but like, a long windy road, and picks up her man, and she goes and hugs him, and then she decides to like blindfold him and drive him somewhere. He looked terrified to me. He did not look like he was really comfortable with her driving, and he was blindfolded. But he show up to a plane and they're going skydiving. So how do you feel about this like moment? So we did a Zoom call and a brown paper bag lunch for Michelle's date, and then she's showing up in a fancy sports car and they're going skydiving. Especially when she says that she's not used to all this fancy stuff when they're on like the shopping date. Like, she's such a humble girl. Like, why is she getting this extravagant date then?
Right. First of all, there's absolutely no way she had anything to do with planning this date. Secondly, the bucket of funds allocated to Rachel's dates seemed to be extensive, including shopping sprees and skydiving. Whereas for a lot of others, maybe Piper had, like with the carnival date, could have equally been as expensive to run. So that was all just like, okay, clearly you've assigned this fun date to her to have, since we're not in any hometowns, and this has literally nothing to do with where she's from, as far as I know. Personally, I would not like to be sprung with the surprise that I'm going skydiving, because the idea of that is absolutely terrifying to me, and I shall not be skydiving in this lifetime. But for Matt, who quote unquote is big into surprises, his words, maybe that is a great date for him. But for me, it's going to be a no. I don't like it at all.
I don't know how I'd feel about that being the date, but I think that if Rachel did have some say in it, it could be very calculated, because like they're going to have this huge experience that would bond them together, like their first time, they can always talk about it. It's something that they did. Anytime they'll be like, oh, have you ever been skydiving? Oh yes, I went skydiving with Rachel. Like, it's always, it's going to be a moment that will be talked about for the rest of their life as something that was on or not on their bucket list, that they had this experience together. So I think that it was a choice for him to be more bonded to her. I think it was
interesting. Yeah.
It was decided. And she, like, the person that was, they didn't show them doing any practicing. Like, don't they have to like practice like the positions and stuff like that? Like,
yeah,
willy-nilly send them up with like a child. There was like her person that she was skydiving with, 13 and a half. Like, literally, there's no way that he's done over 1,000 jumps. Like, I'm just like, what? Like, I was shocked. Would you agree?
I also, like, I was watching it, and so in my household these days, my partner doesn't like to watch The Bachelor, but we've now evolved to a place where he'll sit in the same room while I'm watching it, and then inevitably tune in at certain parts. And when that skydiving person came on, I was like, how old is he? I thought it was a literal child. Like, I thought it was actually a kid.
Yeah,
I was shocked.
Like, maybe they're 18, but like they looked 12, 13, 14, like child, very young. And Rachel looks young, and Rachel looked like an adult compared to this person.
I was not feeling safe with that choice.
that a child was in the plane. Yes, exactly. A child on the plane.
Oh God.
Yes, to be kind of funny. To be correct, so many have used the movie Get Out to describe the interaction between Matt and the Kirkconnell. Yeah, I mean, don't drink that tea and look into like that cup.
Seriously.
So they go tandem skydiving, and yeah, I wrote down here, like, they want to share like a life-changing experience together. And so she can say, I'm literally falling for you, like it's just contrived to not have to have more intimate moments. Like, that also, I think was her intention. It's like, they have a big, huge event to talk about, but they don't have to get like super deep and personal and like look at each other's eyes and stuff like that. Like, it's a little bit more, he gets the results of having a life-changing experience and like connection emotionally to him without having to stare into his eyes and have his hand on her thigh,
Exactly. Yeah. They're bonded, but they didn't actually like bond by getting to know each other. They're bonded by experience that they have.
Exactamento. So they both, I think Rachel went first and then Matt went after. And Rachel, though, had a really hard landing. It looked pretty bad. And so Matt landed first, and he like was happy, and he ran over though to her after when he saw this happen, and was like, oh my God. And so he ran over to her, and she looked like she was shook up. Like, I mean, she was just falling out of the sky, and her hair was a complete mess. And like, she looked rattled, absolutely, and deservingly. Like, it didn't look like a soft fall at all. And
the child landed on her. He basically landed on her. Like, she completely ate shit and then also took the brunt of the fall. So the person in tandem with her like was fine afterwards. And she was like at least probably concussed. Like, I don't know what happened there.
Definitely potentially concussed.
Like,
I blinked, and all of a sudden her hair was silky smooth. Her makeup was touched up. It was like, I was like, because I noticed that she looked like the paper bag princess, like how like,
yeah, it was like all messed up and there was like twigs in it and stuff. And then like the next scene, it's like perfectly slicked down, like fresh face, like nothing happened.
Just makeup. Like,
I was like, you're not even swollen? Like at least a little bit swollen from it, like any type of impact to your face, but okay.
Okay, they definitely glazed over that fall, like, but it looked pretty hard. Yeah, BB, I was shocked that Rachel didn't break a bone in her face, arms, ribs, her legs. Exactly. Tamika says the words that have been thrown around is trauma bonding. Yes, okay, trauma bonding makes sense, especially now that she kind of got hurt. That would make him want to take care of her, you know, like, and she is coming across as somebody to take care of, like with like the doe eyes, and she's so sweet. And even how I was speaking that she was coming out as in her statement, her video statement, like it seems as though she wants people to want to take care of her. And so I can see it. The theory it was faked. Whoa.
I mean, it looked like she definitely hit the ground hard as hell. But then, yeah, she was the cushion for the child. Literally, like the kid landed on her completely. I think like that actually happened. It looked extremely painful, but then I do see like afterwards she seemed fine in a way that I thought was not like commensurate to how hard the fall looked.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like that was like really intense, and then she actually seemed like kind of fine after. Could have been just that she was like, you know, just rolling with it and not feeling well, but I was surprised. I thought that she would be in like way more pain or like way more injured than what we saw. So it could not have been as bad as it looked. I don't know.
I think that she to me looked as though she was just trying not to talk about how she felt, that she was just kind of masking it. And because it seemed like a very surface level conversation. It didn't. I think she was rattled.
Yeah.
Joseph says, I was scared for Rachel. I thought she was injured. Yet if you go on social media, people are happy. It's like ding dong, the witch got hurt. Oh my God, I'm not happy that she got hurt at all. Like, Matt was happy with the experience, and he felt great after he landed. And when he looked over and saw how she came in, like that felt good to see happen. It didn't feel good to see happen on the show. That's terrible. It's terrible.
They really need to stop with these skydiving things on reality TV. And the way, like, I remember on the challenge too, when Jordan hurt himself after they skydived and then like ran the whole final after that. It's the landing part that's extremely dangerous. Like, I feel all these skydiving mishaps that I see like on reality TV almost always have to do with the landing. And I think that's like super dangerous. I'm sure there's like waivers signed and blah, blah, blah. You have to, but it could have potentially been really bad. We don't want to see anybody like get critically injured. In a skydiving bit for reality TV. Like, that's terrible. Like, I'm glad she's not actually hurt.
Oh boy, Bean. Did Rachael Kirkconnell concussion knock the racism out of her? I do not think so. But I think
the ground said, "Wake up."
This whole experience definitely, though, I think is a concussion. You know, like it like she's being rattled for sure right now, and it might the whole experience of being on The Bachelor may may shift her perspective. So people think that they use a dummy doll. Oh, whoa. No,
I think that's like a reach, but
her hair looks so bad that I can't see them making it look that bad. Like,
that's also like next level commitment for something so unnecessary to add to the mix. Like if she's already a front runner, like there would be no need for them to even stir up more sympathy for her at the time that they would have been filming this.
Yeah.
Like not knowing what we know now. So I don't I know sounds very deep conspiracy to me.
Deep. So then they're gonna go to visit her parents. Her dad appeared to be ethnic though. I'm not sure what his background is, but I was like, he looked as though he had some sort of something else in his bloodline, but they didn't really talk about that, and I haven't seen anything supporting that he has a different kind of background. So
me neither.
For me though, I found that when she was speaking to her mom, that she was very matter of fact. She kind of was looking away, like, I really like him, like, da, da, da. And then she was like, oh, and then when we felt like he was really there for me or whatever, and I just didn't feel like someone who was telling their mom for the first time about the man that she could potentially marry. Like, where's the, like, oh my God, Mom, I love him so much. Like, it's like, again, I don't know what to do. Like, where's that? Not like, like I like him so much and like I'm falling for him.
Awkward.
It's awkward and it doesn't feel true to me. How did you feel about her interacting with her parents, her family, especially knowing where she's grown up? How do you feel about them receiving Matt?
I was laughing at the way her father seemed to have like perhaps a cocktail of sorts, like maybe like a gin and tonic situation, and he was sipping it like he was like in Drag Race Untucked. Like it was like he just like had the straw. It was like, so tell me how you feel about Rachel. And I was just like, what's going on here? Like, what is this beverage? So that stood out to me.
What?
I said that moment stood out to me. I think the father was like kind of not buying what Matt was selling, which makes sense because it's a game show. But yeah, I don't know. And then also her sister was there and literally didn't speak from what we saw. So I'm sure she was so upset that she put together that influencer worthy outfit for no lines.
I don't remember what the sister looked like. Was it
She's like blonde. Yeah, she's blonde and was wearing like denim, like this like leather, like longer, like blazer jacket. I remember what she was wearing, but I know she didn't say a word. Or maybe she did. They didn't show it, obviously.
Yeah, I don't even remember what she looked like. I don't even remember the parents. I remember the mom saying though that she wished that she went skydiving with them because it's something that she really, really wanted to do. And I thought that would have been interesting to bring the parents on these dates since like it's not in their actual home. I want to see them interact and do things because I find that shows people's true colors. And so I just don't feel like sitting down and talking with people that you've never met before in a house that's not theirs, doing things that are not typical of what they would be doing because it's not their actual home. It doesn't really help this process, like it's supposed to. Tamika said on one of the many Bachelor podcasts, they did say she probably didn't listen and didn't use the techniques they said you were supposed to use for landing. Okay, that's a potential. And also could be a child
possibly
that maybe was nervous about her beauty and like as forthcoming.
I get you're supposed to like lift your legs up, I guess, so that you can kind of like land like down like that, but it also seemed like the way that they came in was almost like sideways. Like it seemed like they came in like hot on almost an angle, and that's how she ended up landing like on her leg the way that she did and banging down. So it could be a combination of just like shitty landing plus bad technique, which is what it really looked like.
Hundo. Apparently her dad's grandmother is from Honduras. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Awkward meeting with dad. Matt, her dad's interaction reminded me of Memphis and David in Big Brother 22. Yeah.
It was awkward.
It was. Yeah, dad's family is from Honduras. I don't remember the sister either. Yeah, I really.
It's okay, she's not memorable. I guess I just remember.
Her father was overly aggressive and skeptical, but on what his views are not surprising. Yeah, like he didn't seem really supportive. It didn't seem like it didn't even seem like he like won over her father at all. Like there was no real budging. I love the straw moment. I definitely
the straw
sold the show. The straw was more memorable than the sister at this point.
It was.
Bean says some people of Hispanic descent are racist against blacks too. Absolutely. I know within there's a lot of colorism, obviously in South Africa, but then in Cuba, definitely there's like the colorism is happening there, huge as well. So I definitely don't say just because like he does have some POC in his bloodline doesn't absolve him from having racist perspectives.
Right.
Kirkconnell's Kanon supporters per their social media history.
I did hear that her father donates to, I'm going to get this wrong, but it vaguely is in the right direction here, but he donates to either like an organization or something that was in support of Trump's re-election. I don't know exactly what it is. I'm so sorry. Someone can let me know what exactly it is, but that's like just public information. Like you can see that. Yeah. So
James Harden from the NBA. I don't know who that is, Natalie. I'm sorry. I don't know sports very well, unless you're like Michael Jordan. I don't
with the beard, he is going in the James Harden direction with that beard for sure.
Let's look him up. Okay, so anything else? Okay, so Rachel and him are talking after the interactions with the family, and he says that he didn't feel right about asking her father for her hand in marriage because he just didn't want it to be a checking off a box. And so she looked really disappointed that he didn't do this. But I kind of understood that. Like, why would you want to go and seem disingenuous, going to all these four different parents and asking for the hand in marriage when you're only going to choose potentially one? So I think that it's okay if he wants to call the dad later and be like, hey, actually, he's probably still going to be in Nemacolin. So go to the dad's house and be like, film that segment later, being like, I want to ask for her hand in marriage. What did you think about her not being impressed by that?
I mean, I think Matt did the right thing by not doing that, because based on even the comments that we were just reading through here, like that interaction wasn't like amazing between the father and Matt. I think it's just Matt reading the room and being like, this is not the appropriate time for me to have this conversation. Whether I want to marry her or not, like right now, based on the vibe, this is not it. I have other personal thoughts about the idea of asking for someone's hand in marriage from their father that I personally find to be problematic, but I'll save that. I'll spare everyone my personal thoughts about that. But yes, I think Matt made the right call by not doing it. And she shouldn't be, in my opinion, she shouldn't really be disappointed in that. It just shows that he's actually like got eyes on the situation for what it is. And I would think that he would make that call in a more appropriate setting later on.
100%. So the last quote that in the confessional that Rachel says is, I'll be completely crushed if I don't end up with Matt. True or false statement?
I think maybe because it doesn't fit into, no, false. I think like I don't think her end game was to be final one coming into this show. I think she's calculated her way there in terms of her actions throughout, starting from the very beginning till now. It seems like she's kind of understood what you need to do to make it far in this show and taken all of those actions. So I don't think she actually wants to win, personally. but she's saying it because that's what you have to say at this point if you want to keep going.
And I think that if she's completely crushed, it would be more so because she lost. That she can tell that she's a front runner and whatever she's doing is working. I think the crush would be like losing as opposed to like breaking up.
Yes, that it doesn't, contribute to the journey that she wants to have on the show. If she loses, then, then that's not what, she intended. Yeah. I don't know.
So the next date is Bree. Bree takes him a little bit off-roading and they have a picnic, of course. And one thing that she said was that she was scared that she doesn't have a conventional family, and that's, she's just a little bit worried about introducing Matt to her family. She definitely likes him, but I felt as though she looked worried on this date. What did you pick up on the beginning of this date?
I think it's natural for someone who has a more unconventional family to feel probably kind of nervous going into a situation like this. Not because the people that we met, like her mom seems fantastic and her friend seems nice. Like, I think like her loved ones that were there, obviously very supportive, but I think it's more so you're worried about what the other person is going to think about your situation. So I could actually really relate to that. Something that speaks to like some of my own experiences too. I get it, where it's like, I think I would feel kind of uneasy in the earlier portion of the date going into that, just thinking, I don't want anyone to feel like, I don't know, you feel like if you don't have a conventional family situation that it's viewed upon as like negatively, or that like there's something missing or whatever because it's non-traditional. So I get it, but I do agree with your observation. She seemed a little bit not fully confident, I think.
Mm-hmm. And so they get to the home, the family home. The mom's there with her, I guess, best friend Bree, and Matt gets introduced to her baby sister. He didn't seem very comfortable holding a baby. I get that, though. Not all men have held small babies before, but he didn't seem to fit in to that kind of role, being like, hold my baby sister. It just seemed a little bit too awkward for me, but I'll give him a mini pass. I definitely thought he looked scared though when he was holding the baby.
He did. And I get it. This is like a highly specific and like situation where knowing just like the past history of like, she is close with her mother. Her mother had her, I want to say when she was 13, or she got pregnant when she was 13. So like very young mom. She's now having like this like next stage of her life where she's having a child now. There's a huge age gap between them. They're meeting for the first time on TV. It's a pandemic. Like there's a lot of things that would make that entire situation like pretty uncomfortable. So I get it. But yeah, he looks kind of terrified even when she was holding the baby, when Bree was holding the baby.
Oh, this is my life. Oh. Just to back up a little bit, Tamika said, I actually agree with Matt on that totally. I didn't understand why Rachael was pushing for him to do that. It felt very gamey, but yes, it's also an outdated social construct, but gels with her ideals. For sure. And I think that it just, to her, she might have felt like, oh, maybe I'm not the front runner anymore. Like maybe I'm not the one that he wants to pick in the end. Like, cause he would have asked my dad if he wanted to marry me. So she could have probably just been worried or nervous about her position with him, maybe compared to the other girls. Like, is he saying that to just her, or is there somebody else that he did ask for the hand in marriage? To Joseph, I think that it would have been Bree, actually. I don't remember Joseph's concept. Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, we'll get to that point shortly. Dean wants to know, is Tanya only against the father or asking either parent in general for hand in marriage, or would she prefer both parents be asked? Okay, we'll ask Tanya when she comes back about that. So you've been asked, I guess, to divulge your secrets. Are you only against asking the father, or asking either parent in general for hand in marriage, or would you prefer for both parents be asked?
I think it's more so the concept of asking like the male figure in the family for permission to marry someone that I have issue with, because there's a lot of like I don't think that you should have to do that, first of all, but then there's also even more nuance to that too. Like, I think it's totally appropriate, obviously, to have conversations with the parents or parental figure in someone's life if you're considering marrying them and like talking about it. Absolutely. It's the idea of asking for permission to marry specifically from father to daughter that makes me feel uncomfortable. And I think also for me personally is like, not necessarily everybody's relationship with a parent is going to be one that like entails that even needing to happen. So it just feels very antiquated as a tradition. But I don't think that you like it's wrong to like converse with the family if you're planning on marrying that person. Like, of course, like by all means, it's literally just the concept of asking the father for permission that I have an issue with.
I totally get that position. I guess one thing that I understand about it, it's kind of like the father was providing for his daughter growing up and having that role, and so the permission is for him to take on the role of providing for his daughter. So that's the only like reason why I don't mind it, is like the passing on, you know, knowing that his daughter's going to be in good hands. And so, oh, I think I'm going to have an echo without headphones.
Oh, sorry. Give me 1 second.
No problem. It's full on. Can you hear it at all or no?
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, I can hear you too.
But you.
I don't have my headphones on.
No, I know. That's why.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Give me 1 second.
So back to Bree's date. So the mom, I thought the mom is gorgeous. A friend was gorgeous, and she really grilled Matt. And I like that, because she's like, oh, so like, what are you doing? Just like dating a whole bunch of women, including my daughter. And I don't think he really handled her mom as well as he could. Let's see what Tamika's saying here, though. So Tamika says Bree's mom made a beautiful post for. Whoa. It's like loud robot voice, slow motion. It's so funny. Okay. Bree's mom made a beautiful post for her on raising her as a strong Black woman, as a white woman, considering how young she had her. She did an amazing job with Bree. Absolutely amazing voice. I know. It's so funny, Bean. It was really scary. The Canadian robot. It was a Canadian robot. We're not even on Serena P's date yet. I've never heard that sound before. Dead. So they go outside to have a little talk, and she's like walking like around the fireplace.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, and you didn't see this, but it was a Canadian robot. Like,
I'm so sorry. I don't know. My AirPods died. I'm bringing back the cordless for this now. I deeply apologize. I just want to say one last thing before I cut off and left. I think in regards to the conversation about asking for permission for marriage is also a situation where, like, for example, looking at Rachel, it's something that's very important to her. So I do think there are contexts where like that might work for someone. I'm more so speaking for myself, and the tradition as a whole, I think we could look at with a little bit more criticism about the aspects of it that are problematic. But for someone, if that's important to you, by all means, then I hope it happens for you. That's all.
Live TV best right there. And we forgive you, Tanya.
I'm sorry. I can't wait to hear that back. Just kidding. I can.
It was really loud and like kind of
Oh, sorry.
All good. So Bree's mom takes him outside, and she's in her heels. It was really awkward how she was like walking around the fire pit or whatever it was in her heels, and she has a conversation about Bree, obviously, with him. He didn't really sell his feelings for Bree to me, to his mom, and I think his mom, her mom, really bought it. And The one thing though that I took away from this particular date was when Brie was talking to her mom, talking about how she's falling for him, falling in love with him. And her mom said, the line of the night is the worst thing that could happen is we mend a broken heart together. I was like, what a beautiful thing for a mom to say. Cause like, that is the worst thing that happens. Like,
Yeah.
It didn't seem as though her mom was like, you're going to be the person in the end. I think she knows that
She knows.
Be her, but she's like, I want my daughter to go for it, you know? Yeah. And what's the worst thing that can happen? We're mending a broken heart together. I thought it was really beautiful. And
I thought that was a really good way of like speaking to her, given like the situation. It's what it is. Like, there's a strong possibility that she won't be chosen just because, you know, you're one of 4 people. And her mom probably knew that. And this was a really nice way to kind of like soften the future blow without making her feel like, you know, she's doing, you know, shouldn't be pursuing him or whatever. But I loved her response when Matt said, I'm falling for her. The mom just said, okay. And I was like, she's like clearly aware of everything that's happening right here.
Yes. Her finger was on the pulse of this relationship. Yes, epic quote. Brie and her mom had a very special relationship. Absolutely, because they both probably grew up together. My best friend in high school had a baby, and you know the daughter is turning 26 now, and like they're so close, and like you know they really experience life together because they're so close in age. So I can see them being very, very, very close. I think the mom's 38, but she could have just had a birthday. But yeah, like 13 and 14 is very, very young to have a child. And so for her to be so wise now, it's quite profound how much she's grown up as well, the mom.
And Brie seems like a lovely person from what we've seen. So like also just in raising her, there's clearly been a great, you know, mothering that occurred through that process. So nice to see their relationship on TV.
So Joseph, I could see Brie as a bachelorette. It would be fun to watch her find love. Plus her and her mom have a special relationship. Yeah, it would be nice to see her fall in love. I'm not sure though if she's ready right now. I don't know if she's ready yet. Like 24 is still quite young. Like young. 24. So I mean, I want to see her find love. I just don't know if this show is great for people that are under the age of 30. I'm just going to put it out there. I don't know if it's going to work anymore for people that are super young. I feel like all the relationships that are worked have been people that are a little bit older. They're all been in their 30s. Like Rachael was in her 30s when she was the Bachelorette. I think Krista was even 30 when she was the Bachelorette. Like all the ones that have lasted seem to be when they were older. So,
except for Claire.
Oh well, weather.
But Ashley and JP, she was also a little bit older too. I want to say, right?
But they're done though, so that's
I know. But we're together for a long time. Like
they did get married. But I feel as though there's a stronger chance for people to last when they've had a more life experience. And they won't grow apart necessarily. They can grow together more likely.
Yeah.
So I don't remember how that date ended because all the dates were just a little bit like lackluster. But we get to Serena P's date next. And I thought she was really cute. She was repping Canada in this date. And so she wanted to bring Canada to him. I have to say, for any Americans that are watching right now, that I do say a lot. I definitely call it a toque, not a beanie. I love poutine. Eat it, well, not right now often, but I've eaten probably 1,000 poutines in my lifetime. When I ate meat, female bacon, back bacon was good. It was a thing. I always have maple syrup in my household. Like actually, absolutely. And out of all sports, I think that hockey was the first one I learned how to play when I was younger. Maybe soccer, but I think hockey was in there. Ball hockey and floor hockey. So how do you feel about Serena bringing a little bit of Canada to Nemacolin?
This was like...
This was so bootleg. Like, oh my God. Like, I know we were talking about Michelle's date and the discrepancy between that and Rachel's in terms of the budgeting here, but this one was by far the worst. So this was like a science project or like a book report presentation of Canada in like a terrible room. And I'm really like, for everyone that watched this and like hasn't had poutine or doesn't know what poutine is, please understand that it never looks good, but it's delicious. And like, don't judge it based on that crappy poutine that they had in that container because it just doesn't photograph well. I'm sorry, but it's really, really yummy.
If it's not hot, it looks even worse because nobody likes wet, like semi-cold fries. Like it's just like it just does not look appetizing. But poutine is so good. It's
delicious.
Definitely delicious. Tamika though feels cheated that there was no Tim Hortons on this date. There should have been for sure. And what was else? I learned that butter tarts were Canadian.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I was like, wow, I did not know that. Beaver tail, I think they had on that.
Beaver tails, yeah. They could have done a Hawaiian pizza, also Canadian.
I said Hawaiian pizza, give us a Caesar.
All dressed chips.
Oh, dill pickle chips.
Like, come on, there's so much. Also, can we talk about Matt thinking that a toboggan was a hat?
I don't know what, like, is toboggan, is that a weird thing? I mean, maybe Muskoka chair might be. What's the other word for Muskoka chair?
Oh, I don't know what I call them Muskoka chairs.
Arondack chairs or
yes.
Adirondack chairs?
Yes, that's it.
Chairs. Maybe I could not understand what a Muskoka chair was because that's very Ontario.
Is toboggan really a Canadian word? Like, I'm pretty sure like it's a sled. Does everyone know that? I didn't
know it was a big word. I really didn't.
It's definitely not a hat.
Yes, Moses, they're done from a little while now. They were having a little bit of problems. He did have a health issue that might have been the catalyst to. It might have shaken some things up that weren't working. Maybe and now that he's healed, they definitely decided to split ways. Was it during the pandemic it happened? It happened within the last.
I think it was. It was like there was I want to say there was like a week or two where like a lot of the breakups came out around the same time. And this was in that area, but they are separated. Yeah, unfortunately, but hope that's, what they need.
So Tamika, though, you did report, this is from Bree's date, though, for the last 2 episodes, he's given Bree nada in terms of feelings. He did the same to Parker before she left. Yeah, he hasn't really been giving it back. And so that's probably like the worry in her eyes that, she didn't get that second one-on-one date. Like I would be a little bit concerned, especially not having the conventional family that she's not sure if that's something he would value, but she's probably just worried for sure. Will be interesting to see where Bree finishes since we know he picked Rachel. She's probably out next, I would say. I think Michelle would. We talked about Michelle and the final 2 for a while now.
Yeah, I think so.
Their first date, we saw that happening between them. And well, I don't know if they're going to stay back together. That's another thing I think is super contrived. But if you're find love.
I can't with them.
I agree with Chantele. Sean Lowe was 28. Catherine was 26. We are learning that Sean was 1 in a million candidate and may never happen again. But for age, or for the fact that he's a virgin, or blonde, or white, or I didn't really like him. He had some tone deaf comments about Chris Harrison. So I was like, I forgot about it, but I meant to bring it up. He didn't do what I thought was the right thing.
Of course he has some tone-deaf comments about Chris Harrison. That doesn't surprise me, based on everything we know about Sean Lowe.
What?
No way! So I'm out here insulting Matt for doing this when that's
not
actually...
I can't... Hold on.
I'm sorry. I will eat my words if it is a hat. I really did not know that.
What? Okay, hold on. Okay, it's pops up as toboggan, a hat, or a sled.
What is it?
It's south was the connection between toboggan and sled faded, and the primary definition of toboggan thus became the hat. In fact, some Americans might be shocked to learn that toboggans are also sleds.
Okay.
The history of these original names for knit hats, however, began much earlier. Why do Southerners call a beanie a toboggan?
I literally did not know that. Is Matt even from the South?
He's from North
Isn't he from? Yeah. Okay. Well, I apologize. No, that is a fact check that I simply have to accept as being true. I was shocked. I didn't understand. I really, really thought he was just so confused, and I didn't know. So my apologies. Thank you for informing me. It's always been a sled to me.
That's okay. Well, I mean, there's a world that we never knew we were living in. Okay.
Jeez. Wow.
I heard about the accident in a Canadian Tim Hortons restaurant. Maybe you can remind us. I believe it was in the beginning of BLM where a woman actually took a poop on the floor and then flung it at the employee.
Oh.
Not great.
Well, I mean, that could be any Tim Hortons at any time, really.
Sometimes you can get a lot of interesting people in those Tim Hortons. The fact that Sean was the only bachelor to marry and stay with his number one pick. Okay, that might be.
Yeah, well, I think that's also because the show doesn't actually lead to long-term marriages too.
So Matt's the kind of guy that will miss out on a great lady because he's interested in people who are not into him, especially people that do the bare minimum, like he is blindfolded. Mm-hmm.
I know.
Matt's from the South. He's from. When I hear North Carolina, it just seems north to me, but I guess it's
my journalistic integrity is just absolutely crumbling at the seams today with Toboggan and with Matt being from the South. I truly didn't even know both of those things. Jeez. Wow.
This video was gross, and learning about toboggans, gross.
I learned.
I feel weird about this. I feel weird that it could be called a toboggan. I just
can't even. I'm blown away. I'm actually blown away. But the more you know, the more you know.
The more you know. So we don't have to go too much longer. Let's blow through the last bit of this date. So she's with her family, and hold on, I can't remember what her sister was. Okay, now I remember her family. Lovely family. Her mom seemed concerned. Her sister definitely seemed concerned and said something that we were kind of feeling from the Tantra date, or I was anyways.
Mm-hmm.
She's not that into him. She didn't expect to be going to this hometown date. She thought that her being we're not on the same page with this Tantra experience. She thought that maybe that would stir in him that hey, we're not really on the same page in life. They go to the hometown dates, and her sister says, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like you're really smitten with him.
Yep.
Facts. I don't think she's smitten with him. Her sister could see it loud and clear, and her sister calling her out on that, I think, is what allowed the end of this date to happen, where she kind of tells him that she's really even she didn't in so many words yet, but she wasn't really giving him signs that they were on the same page. What do you think about this date and what transpired?
I think the most striking thing to me, which is what I mentioned earlier, is Matt's reaction and the way that this all played out. I didn't think as a viewer that I would have placed Serena P in the final two conversation based on what we've seen of her so far. But it really seems like maybe I was not understanding how seriously Matt seemed to be taking their relationship. And I noticed that a lot more this episode than ever before, because I would have thought her leaving at this time feels kind of like the right time for her to be out of the picture, because she's not really wanting to marry him, as we've seen. Mm-hmm. And it just seems to be the kind of appropriate time for the way their relationship has developed. So I don't know. I didn't think that he was really trying to have her there at the end. And that was what stood out to me.
like before this episode, I thought that Brie would have been the final two, and then Serena would be the third. You know?
Yeah.
I definitely didn't see it really, or no. Well,
Michelle
final two, Brie final three, and her out.
Yeah.
So
that's the thing. I would have put Michelle and Brie like ahead of her in the rankings of who I think he's gonna pick based on what we've seen. So it seemed like the right time, but he seemed to have like more of a thought of her progressing, I guess. I think.
Being with some more education for us. So North Carolina is definitely a southern state and was one of the major slave states in the past. I guess
For sure.
North, I just think it's close to the border, but I don't know American geography very well. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry.
I just didn't know he was from North Carolina. Like geographically, I know where it is, but I didn't know that he was from there. How would I miss that? Who could say?
Have known after the yoga debacle that she wasn't into him 100%.
Absolutely.
And I'm telling, based on a lot of comments from former cast members, they have. Sorry, what are we talking about there? Oh, well, I guess about Matt. So when Serena P broke up with Matt and then walked him out, like screen, she was able to fake it for the Bachelor, but not for the family that knew her, 100%. And so that's just kind of what I was going to get at too. Is that like so she talks to her family, and she's like, thinks that she might be pretending or talking herself into this relationship, and that she's not really into it. And she's thinking a lot. And at the end, though, when they're just talking, she was like, just trust me and I'll try. And the kiss that they had to me seemed like a goodbye kiss. I was like, okay, so I'm just thinking like, okay, so she's out now then, because like he's realizing that it's not reciprocated. And then I guess he talks to the producers, and he decides to like show up. She seems surprised that he was showing up at her living space. And Chris and Matt talk, and she goes and talks to Serena P. And she's like, he thinks that he's saying all the things to give her the comfort that she is somebody that he wants to take to further along in this process. But she was like, no, I don't think that I can do that anymore. Basically says, I'm not there yet. I don't think that I'm your person. And Matt looked really shocked, kind of irritated and pissed off to me. And then eventually asked her if she was going to walk him out. I was like,
this whole thing was lols. Like, I love when they do the visits to the rooms that they're staying in, whether it's a contestant goes to the lead's room or the lead goes to the contestant's room, because prior to Matt's arrival, she's literally just sitting on a couch looking forlorn in silence, which I don't know that people do like all the time. Like, that is clearly like we were waiting for the scene to start moment, and it was killing me. She was just silently sitting there looking like sad. And that was the lead up to Matt getting there. And she said, I don't think that you're my person, which is true. He's not.
He's definitely not. And she's also very young as well. She's 22. And so she's 22. Like, learning that, like, knows that, like, hey, like, you still got your whole life to live. Like, you know, you're going to go marry this American guy. We're going to go move to New York. Like, you want to stay with us and your family. Like, anyways, I just don't think it's realistic. Yeah. And I think she got in over her head. And I think that she believed that after the Tantra date that she was going to be, like, done and she's going to be able to, like, not go further. And because she seemed surprised, if I remember correctly, that she was chosen to go out in the hometown, or that she got the rose after that date. She's like, oh.
Because she got that extra one-on-one, like she got that second one-on-one. And I think even she was surprised to be on that date. Just being like, oh, me? Okay.
Serena P for Bachelorette proved all season she could lead a show at 22. Yes, but I don't think that she's ready for love, though. So I don't know if she'll find the relationship for her, like, her forever person. She just needs maybe like 10 years of dating, you know. I mean,
I do like her, though. I like her energy. I like her personality. She seems like a cool chick.
Agreed. Sabrina P became the Bachelor, became the contestant, especially when she walked him out. Hilarious.
She also was the Bachelorette on their first one-on-one date, essentially, because Matt was incapable of leading at that time. Yeah. She really took the reins. That was the horse riding one.
Yeah.
Like, she's kind of low-key been the lead and waiting in the wings.
So Matt cries, sheds a few tears over this one. I'm wondering if it's like he doesn't like being broken up with, or if it was that she broke up with him and so he feels less than because he really liked her. But he at least showed some emotion here, which was good. Because it's been a joke that everybody just says like, "Oh, I'm so happy you shared," is like what he says to everyone that says anything to him. So
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that.
So happy you shared that. Thank you for sharing. So it was nice to see him having a little bit a different color here. Okay, so after this happens, cut to the rose ceremony. I thought the women looked amazing. I thought it was quite interesting that Rachael was wearing a bright royal blue color, and then the other two women were wearing black. So it seemed like this was Rachel's standout moment. So I'm wondering if she brought this beautiful dress or if the producers gave her this beautiful dress. But she definitely stood out amongst the three women as like wow. I liked Bree's dress. Like I like the backlessness of it. But Rachel's dress is my favorite color for formal wear. You know, I think it's so like bam. I love it. So I thought that was interesting that she stood out like that. And they kind of amongst themselves are asking whether or not Serena P was coming. Is she coming? Is she coming? And nobody really said like, absolutely she's going to be there. Like she loves him so much. Like it didn't seem surprised to any of them that she wasn't going to show up. What do you think about this opening rose ceremony scene?
I mean, I think they shouldn't even need to have a rose ceremony if someone leaves and the roses are just already there. I was like, let's just cut to the toasts and call it a day because there's no suspense. There's no suspense. He just like basically at one point he said that if you're gonna get a rose, like think long and hard before you accept the rose or whatever. And I was like, okay,
Thanks, Dad.
Like that made me feel a bit weird.
Played because he was so into Serena P and she wasn't that into him. But like, would you have rather offer her the rose here and she said no, thank you? I think it went better for your ego here, Matt. But I think though that's why they have the rose ceremony because it does give the woman the opportunity to say no. At this point, I don't feel like I want to accept this rose because he does ask them if they want to accept.
Right.
So I understand why the rose ceremony still needs to be there, especially even though somebody had left.
That's fair. You have to say yes. You have to accept the rose if you want to stay.
Exactly. It's hard. And we know we want the rose ceremony. So don't give them any ideas to like take out the rose ceremony.
I don't know. Are they going to actually give us one each episode? Because then maybe I will be more on board instead of taking us on this whirlwind of nonsense where I don't even know what day it is in the episode, what time it is.
So I think we all hope they get someone that finishes in top 10 as the lead. Last I heard, Steve is that they're looking at Sex or KD who finished 12. Yeah, we heard that. I don't know if they're going to continue with that with what's going on though in lieu of the Bachelor happenings. This season is making the whole season look like a vacation, and that was
That's true. At least we felt more united in like the Juan Pablo season because I feel like more people kind of stood with the women and were like, oh, Juan Pablo's ridiculous. Like this is so stupid. And it was almost kind of like not hilarious, but it was like kind of nice to see the women being like, I don't want to date you. Like, I don't like you. You're the worst. So like I felt like there was more of a united front in that crazy season.
I don't think that Serena P should be the next Bachelorette. She's too young, 22. Let's be real. Again, I would say the age range 27 to plus. Agreed there, personally. I'm saying that she should be the next Bachelorette, but she definitely has what it takes to be not to be the next Bachelorette, but that she could be eventually the Bachelorette. Yeah, I think she could lead a show for sure. I don't know if she's ready for that role yet. I was impressed that Matt told them the truth about unlike Peter, who left out that about Madison Pruitt. True.
Worst.
So just to button off this episode, he did seem pissed that Serena broke up with him. He didn't seem happy about that at all. That's probably what you're there. He calls Michelle out first, so no surprise. We do think that she is the runner-up here, so doesn't want to give her any doubt. So yes, without hesitation. Rachel, yes, thank you. And Bree, she has a feeling though that there was something disheartening about her getting the final rose. So I do feel as though the order of that is intentional. I think without Serena P being in the picture, that Michelle is now the final two with Rachel. And they're trying to do a little bit of a misdirect, having Rachel second here, but like we all know what's going on. And I think it's him that says, thank you all for being patient. Okay, it's cool.
Sure, Matt.
Then the last little scene was part of Michelle and Matt's date where they're riding the bike. Matt falls, I believe, and breaks the chain.
Serves him right for trying to do tricks.
Matt. Now,
just right.
What I wrote is, and I put stars beside it, you're going to be getting some points soon. Because there's like hot tub and disrobing and, I'm sure there's a Peloton scene and changing. And yeah, so I think you're going to get some points soon. So don't be. I thought that you were going to be running away with it. And I was getting nervous at the beginning. And now I don't know what's to come in the next few episodes. But you may get some more points. So don't.
It's gonna be right to the end, down to the wire, until the credits roll. At the end of until we're done. I will be holding out hope that we'll get there. But I was feeling very confident when we began, and I'm feeling not confident about this at all anymore. So I've accepted failure. It's okay, but we'll see.
Tamika says that order in the finale would make me so happy. It's not happening, you know that, hon. Like it's not happening. But hopefully, maybe the woke police will come out with ABC and put Michelle as Bachelorette because that's what we really want. We'll also hope that they will stay true to form, get some topless shots of Matt, so Tanya can win this poll, this
for the bet, not for my personal needs. I just want to clarify. Okay. This is not thirst photos or images that I need of Matt. It's for the bet. Okay.
It is for the bet. It is. I do want to clarify that. I don't want me to win with me going the under on 10 when she was so confident with the over.
Exactly.
I don't want anybody that comes and talks to me as my co-host to feel wronged here. So let's give her what she deserves and let's get some more topless shots of Matt.
Please.
So thank you so much, everybody in the comments. Like, I thought this was a really great conversation. I know we went quite long. It was probably a 2-episoder in one, but I'm happy that we can touch on all these things, these happenings of this last week. And I love talking about them with you, Tanya. So thank you for being here. Do you have anything going on that you want to share with the people?
No, you know me, just the usual working and podcasting, which are not bad things to be doing.
Big Brother's starting, so we'll probably
It is.
Yeah. So thanks again, everybody. Honestly, you guys are the best to hang out with. I really enjoy it. I'm so happy that even if it's on an off day, you guys still come in and support. We really appreciate that. Yes, it was super day. And thank you guys. You guys are awesome. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. We just want to get to 1,000 and then I'll stop bothering about it. Well, maybe I'll ask for likes or something, but share it with people that like The Bachelor or have any opinions about what's going on in Bachelor Nation. I do think that we talked about some really important issues and I think it's important to keep that conversation going. And so please share. Yes, BB, I will be recapping Big Brother Canada through me, as well as Reality Pop, a new channel that I'll be speaking on. So I'll be speaking both. I'll be going live after the episode on a new show, Bachelor Brother show called, I named it, The Block.
Love that. That's awesome. That's really exciting.
So yeah, so it's going to be I'm going to still air it on Reality Realness with 3 S's, but then it also will be aired through Reality Pop's channel as well. So first episode is going to be Monday. I'll be going live, I'd assume, at about 9 p.m. I'm not sure who's going to be hosting yet, but we'll do a cast assessment and potentially a draft pick. So we'll see how that shakes out. But yes, after the episode, I intend on doing a live recap. So that's Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, unless they shake up the schedule there. And thanks, y'all. See you next week for Women Tells All. Yes, guys. Honestly, you guys are the best. Thank you, too. And we will see you guys